How's it going, everyone? And welcome to a pantsless episode of No Excuses on VTWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Aristel,
Marion,
and Rossell, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week that was.
while not wearing
First of all-
pants.
Well, yes, sans pants, sans pants. But first of all, if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server, which you can easily get to by clicking on the link which will be provided in the description underneath the show.
Yes,
Archive on
indeed.
YouTube.
So let us do, I suppose, the announcements and whatnot all before we get started. This is episode 499, which means the Rantathon is next. So there will be no show next week while we prepare.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're taking a week off.
Hold on. I don't remember much about what I was taught in kindergarten about how to count, but
Yeah. So yeah, no show next week while we prepare for ye old Rantathon, and then after that,
intensive prep process
Yes.
whereby we basically fart about and try and avoid focusing on the task at hand.
half the time you two disappear off into the Netflix roulette. Stop that. But
There's so much EXP there.
I know, right? I really need to level up my Dark Knight just that little bit more so I can get into the Netflix roulette with it as well. Because there's such a quick way of going from level 48-ish.
Well, I don't know if quick is necessarily the word I want to associate with it.
It's a very easy way of going from level 50 to 80, yes.
Yes.
Per unit time, I feel like it's a good investment, but it does not feel like it at the time.
Oh yeah, it feels like it takes 3 times as long.
Such devastation.
Incidentally, I've hit the point in the main story quest where Nero shows up again, and he seems to have found the world's douchiest sunglasses.
Oh, you didn't do the Omega quest line, did you?
No, I have not done Omega yet. I need to go do that. I'm assuming he wears the douchey sunglasses there as well.
I'm pretty sure he does. Doesn't he have them in that quest line sometimes?
I actually can't remember.
This is where the quest line I saw him where he shows up to Sid's basement server farm when it explodes.
Oh yeah, because he's a member, he's an employee of the Ironworks, so to speak. Although at the time of Omega, while he is working for the Ironworks, it's sort of employed that he's like a freelance subcontractor.
Working is a very loose term.
Well, yeah, but he appears to basically use working for the Ironworks as an excuse to bill Sid for all his expenses.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he was actually supposed to be doing during that server farm, isn't it? Because it seemed like the whole time he just stood in the corner and snarked at Sid.
I mean,
well, that's what he does.
Yeah, it is what he do.
You gotta have a rival that does that with your 2 tech engineers, obviously.
Yes. Anywho, so we'll come back to that in a moment. On the stream today, I'm playing a bit of what has been constantly billed as the most satisfying game on Steam, Power Wash Simulator, of all damn things.
I thought that was a meme. Like I guess
It is
I
a bit of
don't
a
know if
meme,
it really,
but the whole
really
game
is satisfying.
The whole game is you do your career mode, yeah. And it's basically you wake up one morning, you go to the hardware store, you buy yourself a power wash of medium grade, and you start a business.
Power washing things.
Yes.
Remember when you could just start businesses like that in the US? I don't, because that wasn't in my lifetime, and it only got worse.
Yeah.
So I don't know what a power washer actually is. Is that different from a water blaster?
It is a water blaster.
We know them as pressure washers.
Or if you want the Australian name, the gurney.
What?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you carry people on when they're injured?
Generally when they've been hit in the face by a power washer, yes. Yeah, it's both a brand of power washer and it's also the noise they kind of make when they get old and worn out. So, yeah, gurney kind of stuck.
I see. Yeah, we just call them pressure washers here, not power washers.
Yeah, power washer
just,
I think is because this is European.
We call them water blasters because they blast water.
They blast water. Australians call them gurneys because they go gurney, 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 gurney. Anywho.
Do they? I've never heard one make that noise before.
If they're making that noise, it generally means they're breaking.
I don't have any good associations with them though because my father used to always assign me to use it to clean the front fence.
Same.
So,
Or the deck. or the patio, or the driveway.
The thing is that what would happen, it would set off a terrible chain of events where I'm water blasting the front fence, and this is quite painful because the flakes of paint will come off and they'll hit me, and flakes of paint can be quite sharp, and you're being showered with them. So you get lots of that, and then Dad looks at the fence, and the fence is clean, and he's like, yeah, but the paint's gone, so now you need to paint the fence.
Why don't you just use a regular hose?
Why didn't you skip the pressure washing and just repaint the fence?
Or that.
Well, because you don't want to paint over the moss and lichen and stuff.
Ah, yes.
And
I
the
guess
damp.
Yeah, and you don't want to do base coating on something that's dirty anyway.
Yeah. So, a lot of the houses and things in this game, like you start off, the very first thing you wash is your own van, which looks like it, and to use the description the game gives you, it looks like it's been dragged up from the bottom of a lake. This is where I'm up to in the career. This lady is wanting her house cleaned. I just hope she's actually had an exorcist go through it first, because damn.
Yeah, our little household water blaster, I would never use that on a vehicle. I'm pretty sure it would put the windows out.
Yeah. But the little household ones, you can get them fairly cheap from any hardware store, and they got some grunt to them. But,
yeah, like if you happen to clip yourself with it, it would take skin off. Like
yeah, those things sting at the best of times. Like, there we go. So I'm in the area now, trying to get squirty noises. Like there's been cat prints here. Someone's graffitied on the door over here. I go around that. That's more graffiti. Yeah, no ectoplasm on this one, but it's a near thing, I think. Seriously, how do you let your house get this grubby? But,
you should see some of my family members.
Well, normally if you want a house to be this grubby, you need to set it on fire.
You should see some of my family members.
Oh dear. So yeah, that's basically the whole game, is they give you a thing, you clean it. And including there's one case where you need to go up and clean the Mars rover. You just do it on Mars, it's fine.
they send you up there, or do you just sort of
You're just kind of
your
there.
fly?
It doesn't explain it, you're just there. And then you find that some aliens put a boot on the rover, because of course they have.
Were they high when they made this game?
I'm not sure what they were thinking. I'm gonna start on the roof.
Probably something about Germans being ridiculously anal retentive, and so they need to somehow branch out the simulator genre to people with a sense of humour.
Well, they did just put out another edition of Farm Simulator.
You know, I was sitting here posing, waiting on the group to get here before I ran into the massive mob dudes.
Can I pick this ladder up while I'm up here? No?
But some clothy just said nah, and he came in and tunked all that stuff, and then the dancer died.
Of course he did. So yeah, I'm just gonna wash this house while we do. And they're right, actually. It is very satisfying. You just kind of sit down, you turn off your brain, and you just...
It's like Gura in Luigi's Mansion vacuuming up all the sand in the desert.
I did that. But there was treasure under that sand.
Not all of it.
Not all of it, but there's treasure under that sand. And then you leave the room and it comes back. Yeah. As for the rest of my week, I've made a bit more progress on the story of brain farts of Final Fantasy XIV. Fought the final trial on the main story, I believe, which is the Warrior of Light. I went into that fight blind. Do not go into that fight blind.
That was a really dumb idea.
That was an incredibly dumb idea.
Of mechanics, and they're not obvious at a glance.
Yeah, I spent too much of that fight face down on the floor. It was not my finest moment.
Did your tank know to push the limit break button?
I don't know, because I was face down on the floor at the time.
Did you make it through the fight?
We did. So I presume that the tank knew what he was doing.
Because it's mandatory at the phase transition, or you die.
Yeah. I was up at that point, so I was able to pop Tactician, at least, among all the other various bits and pieces people pop. So yeah, that was fun. I very much liked that whole arc of the story, where you have Elidibus turn up and smarm at you for a while.
I mean, he puts a serious face on a bit because before that, Elidibus basically treats you like a nothing. Like he's just not concerned.
He's not worried at all until you take out Emmett Silk. Then he starts treating you like a threat. So, yeah, you get introduced to a whole lot of new lore concepts in that post game too. Like it starts off slow and then just starts lore dumping all over the place.
Yeah,
I think my favorite part though, of course, is Emmett Selk's sort of big damn heroes moment.
Yeah, because hang on, who's this guy? Is that guy who's been just giving us random help in the flashback areas? Nope, it was Emmett Selk.
Yeah, it's very obviously him too because it does this little dismissive hand wave as he leaves.
I've heard that there are a lot of people who are seriously moved by it.
I admit, but it was hard to take down Emmett Selk in the end. Like,
well, I mean, he hangs out with you.
Yeah, he hangs out with you. He stops Nishtola from being dead again. Yeah, and he never actually outright lies to you. Everything he says is true.
As far as we're aware.
As far as we're
probably
aware.
Probably as far as he was aware as well, but
yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion Zodiac's basically been playing the whole lot of them like a damn fiddle, but yeah, so that was fun. You do end up bringing Elidibus round in the end. Considering he's been hanging around since Realm Reborn, just kind of on and off doing things in the background. He was around even before La Habrea was doing stuff, actually, come to think of it. He was always that white Ascian.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's been around. You finally end his story. But then we get to meet the new Ascian on the block, who is Bugfuck Nuts.
Yeah, he's not the most stable individual.
Yeah,
I don't think he minds that either.
I don't think he minds that. And the fact that he's picked a host who is also completely and utterly bonkers.
Very compatible.
The world's craziest simp.
Yeah, I actually swore out loud when he threw the hood off to reveal who the host was. Because, damn it, you again.
I had figured out who he would be ahead of time because he was he was on my list of available corpses.
Yeah. But I think he's picked an absolutely perfect corpse because they already had the psycho face already planned out for that character too, which is nice.
Yeah, the thing that I and honestly a lot of other people are kind of anxious about the direction of the story. I mean, the people have been anxious about the direction of the story many times in the past, and it's always paid off in the end.
Yeah.
But it's sort of anxiety-inducing having someone whose main trait seems to be that they're just a crazy person as being such a focal point of the antagonist forces.
Yeah.
But
every time though,
he is very compatible with his host in the sense that everything that he says sounds like he's not taking you seriously, and he's not taking his boss seriously either, for that matter.
Yeah. So
but he hasn't got any stated agenda, which is odd.
Yeah, like generally in Final Fantasy XIV, whenever someone is going absolutely crazy, they've got a reason to be crazy, or it's a mask that's hiding not crazy, or maybe even a deep dark crazy underneath that.
Or they're a woman, and they're just a crazy bitch.
Yeah, in this case, he could be hiding an agenda, or he could just be absolutely insane. You can't really tell at this point. So yeah, after that you kind of run around, and I'm currently running around with Merwib doing not pirate things. Clearly statedly not pirate things. And by that, it's actually not pirate things.
She would never be a pirate. She would never do piratical things, I'm sure.
Yeah. So it's all running around basically trying to sign a peace treaty with the kobolds or stuff like that.
Well, Ari, you weren't kidding about being pantsless.
Yeah, see, those are anti-pants.
Yeah, it looks like he's wearing a figure skating outfit.
It looks like he's trying to floss his bum crack, is what.
I can enlighten
please enlighten, and we apologize for your eyeballs.
Why would you apologize? It's not a Roganin. I'm not a male character, you heathen.
I actually should put that on a Roganin.
No.
Yes.
There's no need for you to do something like that. I'm pretty sure it's against the Geneva Convention anyway.
Yeah, this is apologizing for your eyeballs in the case of, it's not a very attractive look, admittedly.
Oh, I forgot to scan the thingy.
This isn't deliberately burning people's eyes. Scan the thingy.
I have to go back down.
Incidentally, there is a bug that still persists in Praetorium, where an enemy might aggro onto you in the early areas of the game, or the map, and they will just auto-attack you through the walls.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me.
Yeah, all you can really do is just wait for the Zerg to hit the next checkpoint, drag you along.
Oh, my false nails are so visible in these cutscenes. I love it. It's adorable.
Yeah.
I'm having difficulty taking this group seriously though, because the Dark Knight in the powder pink armor keeps showing up in the cutscenes.
I think we might have to make a new tradition among people. Is whenever you do the Netflix roulette, you have to wear the stupidest costume you can possibly find.
I haven't really made any stupid costumes.
We need to fix that, I think.
Would exactly.
Yeah, I have functional costumes and costumes that are works in progress. You just happen to pick one that was a work in progress.
Yeah.
So it has no pants.
It has no pants.
I mean, it could work. I mean, it's like a leotard, but it has no pants.
Yeah. Incidentally, I know you can actually put that onto a male character, because Joe Cat's character wears that in his cartoons.
He would, given he's a person who always wears the Kieran armor.
Yeah. Kind of a signature look at this point.
Regular head, assless chaps.
There is no regular head, unfortunately. It's sad.
He's got the chocobo head.
He's got the chocobo head. As for other stuff I did, been chipping slowly away at the new Pokemon game, but I actually started again because, it should be easy.
Oh boy.
So I decided, you know what, I'm going to try a Nuzlocke.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I got my Bidoof.
What exactly are the rules?
So the rules of a Nuzlocke...
I don't actually know.
Yeah, the rules of a Nuzlocke are pretty simple, actually. The first rule is if a Pokemon faints, it's dead. It's gone, you can't use it again.
Well, you have to release it in most of them. You can't keep it at all.
Well, it depends on how strict you want to be about it. Sometimes people just stick it in a box so they can use it in the post-game.
Well, it's the point of the Nuzlocke is to develop an emotional attachment to your Pikaimans.
Yep.
And then when they're gone, they're gone. You're supposed to release them to maximize the impact.
Yeah. Which is rule number 2. You must name every Pokemon you get.
Oh, I couldn't do it. I couldn't think of it. I couldn't think of that many names.
As a result, names tend to become increasingly stupid.
I think I ran out of women's names that started with S at some point.
Mine are starting to become incredibly bad puns, so... and the third rule is consistent. Oop, there we go, I just finished the roof. Is that you can only capture the first Pokemon you encounter in a given region. As denoted by the map.
So anytime the map name changes from like Route 18 to something forest, those are 2 separate areas, but you are only allowed to even attempt to capture the first Pikaman you run into.
So doesn't this mean that everybody's going to end up with like Pidgey and Metapod and Zubat and like those are just going to be the only Pokemon anybody gets?
Yep.
For the opening bit.
If you fail to capture the Pokemon, that's it. That's your chance gone. There is a sub-rule which a lot of people use, and that I'm using because I don't want a team full of Bidoofs.
No dupes. No dupes.
No dupes. So
if you get a dupe, you can mulligan.
Yeah. If the first Pokemon that shows up is the inevitable Bidoof, because it's always freaking Bidoof, you can go for the next one instead. You can at least go, depending on how strict you want to be. If it's a double, if you end up with Bidoof twice in a row, well then you're out of luck, or you can just go until it's the first unique.
Yeah, I feel like the no dupe rule, because otherwise you just wind up with a party of two or three Pika Man in some of the games.
Yeah, and it's no fun. So I haven't gotten very
Also-
far.
Also, there's a fourth rule most people follow as well that you're forgetting.
Oh, yep.
If EXP sharing is in the game, it must be turned off.
Yeah, if that's an option. I don't believe it actually is an option in this case.
Yeah, because they made it a game feature, didn't they? That was just baked in.
Yeah, you do get reduced XP for Pokemon that do not participate in the battle, but it's like, I don't know, still like 70% of everything that goes is shared. It's still very generous either way. So, yeah, if you can turn it off, turn it off. If you don't, admittedly, that rule because it just adds needless grind. But I can see why it exists.
The point is attachment. If you're going for maximizing attachment, having to risk the Pika Man to get it leveled up and experienced is part of the attachment.
Yes.
Because if you want that Gyarados, Nuzlocke, you gotta put that Magikarp in battle.
Gotta use the Magikarp and risk it. There's every possibility that even whatever you're fighting is going to put out a priority move that prioritizes over even swap outs. There's a couple of them, and it will nuke your Magikarp from orbit. The suit being the big one. So yeah, I haven't gotten very far. I'd gotten up to the first, gotten the first badge before I restarted for the Nuzlocke. I'm nearly back there again. I went with Turtwig the first time, and you can just delete the first, the rock gym.
Mm-hmm.
It might as well not even be there at this point. So I've gone with Chimchar this time, which means I actually have.
Move early.
What's that?
Can't he still learn a fighting move early to just delete the gem?
Not sure on Chimchar. Some of them do. Some of the fire types do. But I'm not sure about Chimchar. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. Not recording it or anything like that, because that is tends to be a popular way. But I do have a tracker which I'm keeping track of everything on, so I'm not cheating.
So you have to scrap the run if you game over, right?
Yep.
If you pass out.
If you pass out and you've got no Pokemon left to fill your team with, your run's done.
Yeah. You can store ones in the bank as long as you're overflowing from first catches in every region.
Yeah.
And nobody's died yet. But if you're out of ones in the bank and you're out of Pika Man, you game over.
Yep, you're done. Dead. But yeah, it's not a super challenging way, but it's a more interesting way of playing it.
Yeah. Well, it's less about the challenge and more about developing attachment.
Yeah. And
well, you say that, but in Pokemon lore, trading Pokemon is a thing, which I always thought in the cartoon seemed really horrifying.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole episode of the cartoon where Ash regrets trading his Butterfree for Eradicate and has to undo the trade while the SSN is sinking.
Why would you do this, Ash? Well, actually, no, I know why Ash would do this, because Ash is an idiot.
He's 10.
He is also 10, but as a 10-year-old, he's also an idiot.
Well, and he doesn't ever stop being 10, and he doesn't ever stop being an idiot, as far as I'm aware.
At least he's beat the Elite Four at once now. He did the Sun and Moon Elite Four, and he actually finally won one, rather than losing because of technicalities or his own stupidity. So yeah. What else? That's basically been my week. I haven't really watched any anime either. I've been meaning to sit down and watch Jujutsu Kaisen, because apparently that is, like, just good.
It's good.
Stereotypical, but good.
It's not groundbreaking, but it's basically shown with a horror streak.
Yeah.
It's not remarkable in any particular way though. But it is more of a horror story than most shonens.
If you can make it through that series without wanting to strangle the first female lead, you have different tastes than me.
That bad?
Well, I don't think she was made to be especially appealing.
Yeah,
like she's not waifu bait. There's plenty of characters that are, but she's not one of them.
Yeah, it's just something about her really gets on me more than most of the other obnoxious girls in anime that I run into, and I'm not sure what it is.
Okay. That might be one to rack up for Rantathon, I think.
Yeah. I haven't put too much thought into this series at all. It's just something I put on in the background while I was doing Final Fantasy XIV stuff.
Yeah, like there's a bunch of good anime that have come out that I think I need to sit down and watch. But in a lot of cases, they weren't good at the start of the season, but they proved to be good later on. Or at the start of the season, they were just kind of generic.
You didn't even finish the FGO anime.
I honestly couldn't. I tried, but just kind of lost interest in it completely.
Which one? The Babylonia one?
Yeah, Babylonia. I mean,
can't think of a part that's slow enough for you to lose interest unless you lose interest immediately before a climax.
That's probably where I did. It's just, I admit, I did also not play FGO Babylonia in the game.
Well, I don't think it matters. The fact that it's not really that necessary to play it, and the sheer animated spectacle should be enough to pull anybody along.
Of Ishtar's bum.
Unless you just quit watching so early that you never see any of the actual fights.
Yeah. I only lasted till about episode 3, and then I just kind of drifted away.
Oh.
So you watched the background. You watched the flashback episode, and you watched the scene setting.
Yeah, it's Fate. The first 5 episodes are all set dressing. So I've never actually gone back to watch the actual good bits.
In other words, you knew it was going to get good, but you couldn't be bothered.
Yes, probably that.
It's about three or 4-ish episode arcs back to back to back, and once you get past episode 16, it's all climax all the time.
Yeah, but that's episode 16. Most anime are finished by that point.
Until then, you have short, quick 3-episode arcs that have big climactic finishes back to back to back to back. And you get to see Leonidas thrust his manly leotard at a Gorgon's face.
Leonidas had not shown up at the point I was in. Up to, definitely. I know he's hamtastic.
There are 3 whole episodes before Leonidas shows up. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, because he's away on a mission at the start.
Yeah. But also, when I did watch it, it was kind of the point where my interest in FGO almost completely waned. It was like, it's gacha. It's Fate, but it's gacha.
But you get to see Leonidas thrust his manly Greek leotard clad crotch right at.
Honestly, I recommend it. Face. I recommend it largely because the fight choreography is superlative.
Oh yeah, that I do know.
That's the main reason to watch it. I'm not really that concerned about the story or anything, because every FGO story is going to be hobbled by the fact that no writer seems to be brave enough to do the real Ritsuka, the one that always has the second option on the dialogue choices.
Oh dear.
They always choose the cardboard option instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta. I want female funny Ritsuka that has just saying the funny stuff because she's just gone through so much trauma after all the lost belts and all the singularities. It's
like the Ritsuka they could write is the Charlie Swaglord one, but they always end up writing the one that was in the first P4 animation.
Yeah, could be worse. They could write her as Gudiko.
Yeah, they're sort of leaning in that direction with Fate Grand Carnival.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap there. Although I haven't watched that actually yet, either beyond the first episode. There's only like 3 of them, isn't there?
There's still really only the first episode. Well, I think that they others have come out. It's just that I haven't seen them yet. I'd have to go and looking. Even the Honest Bobs don't seem to have them yet. I'm sure if I went dredging through the torrent trackers, I could find it. But
that was still a good time. Especially considering I have played FGO, so I know a lot of these jokes.
Well, a lot of the jokes in the first one, they are from like the oldest FGO characters and memes.
Yeah.
They're not newer ones. The only newer things are things like
Red hair.
and that.
Red hair on his own in a vacuum is just still funny. Like,
I'm looking for a specific screenshot in the second episode, and I'm trolling through seconds by seconds.
How cursed is it?
Oh, it's you haven't seen anything yet.
Oh no.
Hang on. I will grace everybody in the live show chat with this picture.
Oh, this is not going to end well, is it?
No.
Let's see. There is these kids. Look at this and not look at what we're doing. Oh, why? What is that?
Dangerous Beast Lancelot.
Oh,
Dangerous Beast Lancelot.
that exists. Why does that exist?
He's trying to show interest in MASH by imitating
It exists
on that notorious CE.
It exists to get that reaction.
Yes.
Yeah.
The whole
Thank
point.
you, Mash.
MASH doesn't normally show that much expression.
No,
But I
normally
think
she's
the
very
situation may
reserved.
justify it.
This is why, if you're ever a dad, do not try to connect with your son-daughter through their interests.
Yeah. Especially when your other
Father, son?
incarnation is pure, unadulterated crazy. And now that is going to haunt my nightmares. I need to get out of the general of the show chat. There we go. Oh no, I looked in the show host. There's another abomination in there. Yeah, music. That horrible thing that you call a stuffed chicken, where you've done it backwards.
Oh, I never said it was stuffed.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but
It is also
It was
in
kind-
a basin of stuffing.
I mean,
Yes.
it is stuffed, but it is also the stuffing at the same time.
Why?
I'll elaborate and enlighten everybody when we get to my week.
All right. The only other thing of note this week is it's actually been a rather expensive week because I did some shopping.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Christmas season, is it?
Yeah, no, this is shopping for me.
Black Friday then?
Yep. So I got a
What'd you
new GPU on the way. I didn't actually get it on sale, but the supplier I usually go to is like cheaper than everyone else, even when they're having a sale. So
And nobody has sales on GPUs anyway.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's definitely not
GPU,
now.
I guess if you were paying real attention, you could wreak some real legislative havoc right now by looking for all of the people who are having quote sales unquote on graphics cards because they'll all be above MSRP.
Oh,
And
yeah.
So if you were tracking the prices carefully enough, you'd probably be able to nail all of them on putting their price up and then putting their price down on a sale.
Mm-hmm.
Like I expect people haven't even thought about it, but people have been racking up their list price for GPUs constantly over the past year.
Oh yeah.
And the time window for discounting them probably hasn't elapsed for
Yeah.
a lot of these before they would transgress consumer rights.
Yep.
So if you wanted to just lawsuit troll people, you could probably destroy a lot of electronics chains.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah,
Especially when you
surprised
go to a
me
place like eBay and the people are selling like 3080s in packs of 100. Those are all the scalpers who clean out the wholesales before anyone else can have a chance at them.
Yeah, I'm surprised you found one.
I didn't actually find a 3080. I found the equivalent 7600, which was being sold at close to MSRP.
I
At
keep
least-
thinking that, oh, my graphics card is super, super old. I really need to get another one. But then I'm like, but I would be paying a premium and I don't actually need one. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to go ahead and plug them. Screw it. If you want to buy computer parts in Australia, before you go anywhere else, go to PC Case Gear. Those guys know their stuff. And they actually don't rip you off, unlike Amazon, because I actually looked at Amazon as well as Newegg
bad.
and Umart. And
I don't know. I don't know if you guys have it, but we have in New Zealand a aggregator for PC shopping.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's just called Price Spy, and it basically monitors the prices of all the components So you just look for what you want, and it will show you who is currently selling this at what price. What is their service rating? What are their returns policies? That sort of thing.
Yeah. So that's why I went for the guys I did, because they do have a very good returns policy. They'll even actually try and help fix it if they can. If you have a problem.
Yeah.
Unlike
I've
Amazon.
paid a premium for that as well in the past, because the first PC that I bought, I think the motherboard was dead when I got it.
Yep.
So after being burned and having to go through a rigmarole to return it, now I give special premium importance to returns policies.
Yeah. But the biggest advantage was that even though these guys do have really good support, the price of their 7600s, the 6700s I should say, was still $600 cheaper than what Amazon had.
Oh, I can't factor Amazon in.
Yeah, and Newegg and Umart, all the same.
Newegg used to be really good once upon a time.
Newegg used to be really, really good, yeah. But not so much anymore.
They've just gone downhill.
Yeah.
So what's the manufacturer?
Hang on, I'll have to look that up again.
Is it AMD
Power Color.
or NVIDIA?
Oh, it's an AMD.
Okay.
Power Color's the actual manufacturer.
I've had a Power Color one in the past, and it served me all right for a good amount of time. It's not the most reliable brand in the world, and they do kind of cut corners sometimes. But
yeah, they were sold out of the Asus ones, unfortunately.
If you're not looking to tinker too much, it'll do the trick.
Yeah.
Not great for tinkering with, though.
No, don't tinker with them. Like they had the Asus, which was also sold out, and the MSIs, but MSI.
Way back when I was actually following this stuff, the favoured one for tinkering with was Sapphire, but then they released a bunch of unstable cards, and they sort of lost their reputation.
Yeah.
I think my current one is an Asus.
Yeah.
But I'm not exactly sure.
I think my current one is also an Asus.
But my card is also 7 years old.
Yeah. So the one that's been giving me grief for the last 2 years is also an Asus, I believe. Hang on, where is it?
As long as whatever you get is compatible with Afterburner, you're probably okay.
Yeah. Which I did check. And I did the research to make sure there wasn't any, lingering horrible green screen crashes.
So have you got it installed and stuck in your box?
Not yet, hasn't arrived yet. I live out in the bush, remember. It takes a couple of weeks for things to get here.
Takes a couple of weeks for that dingo to roll up in your driveway.
Yeah, presuming Australia Post doesn't eat it.
I am imagining a dingo driving a kangaroo from its pouch. Like, that's your postal service?
No, that would probably be more competent. So, I got that coming. I've also ordered a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Finally. Oops.
About time.
This ladder does not work like a ladder. There we go. Yeah.
I had to get one. After a while, my hands started to hurt using the thing that you mount the Joy-Cons in.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with that as long as I don't play for too long. But then, yeah, if I play for a very long period, then yeah, like a solid 4 or 5 hunts in Monster Hunter.
I mean, you don't use the muscles in your hands very much for your work in the conventional sense. Like every laboratory bench worker has RSI injuries in their hands. It's just part of the profession. Mm-hmm. So you need your gameplay experience to be as gentle on your joints as possible.
Yeah. So I've got that coming to replace my my Joy-Cons, which drift. I'm amazed that Nintendo still hasn't addressed that issue. Well, actually, no, I probably shouldn't be, though. So that's coming, and there's also, not purchased by me, but purchased on family, is a new router coming. One with Wi-Fi 6 on it. So, yeah, the current one we've actually been using it's been a Telstra one, and we've had it for like 5 years.
You didn't tell us how much you paid for your graphics card.
What did I pay for it? $1,100.
For which one? 6700.
For a 6700, yeah. Which is the equivalent of a 3080.
Right.
That
Well,
is Australian.
Oh,
dollars,
that's
by the way.
expensive in New Zealand. It's $1,400 here. Let's see, where's the power color one? Power color.
Power Color Red Devil.
Yeah, 1400.
Yeah.
Oh, Red Devil. That one's Hellhound. Red Devil. Red Devil is 1527.
Yeesh. Who's that through?
Eesh. That's 783 US.
Well, that's the ballpark. That's the ballpark figure, but there's none in the country as far as I can tell.
Yeah, so I've got really lucky that my preferred supplier actually had some stock.
What's it called, Fern? What's the exact thing of it?
It's the Power Color Red Devil. Hang on, I need to actually. grab my-
6700 XT.
Yes.
I'll just put that.
It is actually slightly more powerful than the Hellhound, which was the preferred one, which is the Asus. But yeah, because it's Power Color, you don't want to go tweaking it too much.
There's one left in stock at all the stores for that Amazon tracks in the US, and they want $1,219 for it.
In America bucks.
Yeah, that's like $2K for you.
Yeah.
That's a lot of American bucks.
It's a lot of America bucks.
For reference, you paid just under 800 American bucks for your.
I wonder
thing.
what the MSRP was supposed to be when it was made.
When they first launched they were actually up there because they were being launched in the same window as the 3080.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one thing that it's supposed to be a flagship, but I mean, it was not launched at that price because that's the normal price in that bracket, so much as because you can't. You have to go down to the beach if you want silicon these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing's a 12 gig card. You're fine.
Yeah, it's actually a very solid card.
My
Although
card is ancient and decrepit, but
Yeah.
I haven't had any problems with it. Like, I just haven't had any reason to upgrade it. I just don't play any modern games. The most modern game I play on the regular is Final Fantasy, and it's not exactly demanding.
Yeah, I'm more disappointed because I was actually hoping to be purchasing a VR headset at this point.
Yeah.
But
I would hold on that one.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
isn't the only one worth getting is that Steam one. Whatchamacallit?
Yeah,
yeah,
Because of the hostile takeover of the only other good one on the market.
yeah. There's a new
Oculus
generation
has been-
coming out, but I don't think it's actually out yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch Oculus right now.
Yeah,
And I would stay completely away from them, and they're the only other competitor on the market that makes a decent headset that's really good and worth the money.
yeah. You've got Oculus and you've got HTC. That's it.
HTC ones are hit and miss with people.
Yeah,
Oculus people generally have good things to say about it, and I have good things to say about the Oculus headset, but that company has been eaten by Facebook.
yeah.
And they are tying your Oculus account to your Facebook account. And they refuse to answer whether or not, if your Facebook account gets suspended or banned for any reason, what will happen to your Oculus privileges.
Yeah. For all we know, they're gonna go poof.
And they're going to force you to link an account to a device and have that device's MAC address tied to your Facebook account.
Yeah. So if your account
don't
goes
want
poof and you can't use it anymore, you need to buy a new headset.
But from what I've seen, opinions are pretty much unanimous that the Index is the best one on the market, and it's not even close.
Yeah, the new Steam one is amazing, but you can't get it.
You
So,
cannot get it.
Well, I mean, really, the only ones that you can get are ones that are run by evil corporations anyway. So
Yeah. So yeah, it's something that was going to be on the docket at this point. Like, I planned that out 2 years ago, so yeah. But that said, like, once I sell, I've still got the 1050, which I could probably sell, and I've got my current 5700, which I could also probably sell. Just because it does the green screen crash for me doesn't necessarily mean it'll do it for everyone.
it doesn't mean you need to tell the other person that it's ever done that either.
Precisely. And if they're going to use it for crypto and it blows up and fails to work, well, I just call that karma, honestly. Don't do crypto, kids. It's a scam. Actually, it's not really a scam, but you're doing horrible things to the GPU market. Stop it.
It's not really the crypto traders are, it's the crypto farmers that are. But
Yeah.
the thing is that that's not really what's affecting the GPU market. That's pretty much just it's a scam to claim that they're to blame at this point.
Yeah,
It's purely due to materials monopolies. It's not
Yeah.
about crypto at all. That's just
I
not true.
believe there's only one area that really produces the microprocessors at this point, isn't there?
It's called China.
No,
It's not China.
Or Taiwan.
The problem is that China is on Taiwan's doorstep. They do some manufacturing in Malaysia, and they do some manufacturing in Korea, and they do some manufacturing in Japan, and a little bit in the Philippines, but nobody on the scale that Taiwan does.
Yeah, New South
And
China.
Taiwan has bigger concerns right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until the market kind of frees up a bit, then it's probably going to remain expensive.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with the whole crypto thing, because too many governments have decided to acknowledge it as a threat to their autocratic power over people's wealth. So yeah, so China banned it. The United States is trying to ban it. Like
every country with a banking system that has power wants it banned.
Yeah, they don't like the idea of wealth being outside their direct control because they're all communists.
You can't tax it.
Well, they tax it in New Zealand. We
Yeah, they
don't
tax it in
have
New
a
Zealand.
problem with that. Your crypto trading is taxed, and so the government leaves well enough alone.
Yeah.
Like they haven't gotten to the point where they've turned their attention to it yet. I'm sure that day will come. But you can tax crypto, and it can taxes can be evaded just the same way they can be evaded from anything else. It's not actually different in that respect. It's just another commodity that you trade like stock. So it's not that's not a real excuse.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of ways to track and tax it. It's just it's just the fact that the banks don't have it, basically.
Yeah. It's not under their direct control. It's all you can't. It would be exceedingly difficult to obtain a controlling interest in the blockchain, so no individual can seize it very easily, and that includes an individual state entity.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole reason why people bought into it to begin with, is that it is difficult to seize monopolistic control over the system.
Yeah,
But,
because it's decentralized completely.
No, the big weakness is that an autocratic force can just criminalize the use of the blockchain, period.
Yes. Not a whole lot you can really do about that, unfortunately.
Well, you can overthrow your government.
Well,
Because
also
if they're at that point, then they will probably, if they're at the point of banning crypto, then they're probably at the point of overreach that they're going to be cruising for a bruising within the next 50 years or so.
Speaking of Fern, how's that going in y'all's country?
Do I now?
You overthrow your government yet?
No, we have no need to. We're not in Victoria here.
Well, the Victoria is merely bad because everybody there is stupid. It's the Northern Territories that seem to be having the issues. They are the ones where people are being kidnapped from their homes by the military and put in internment camps.
As someone who lives in the Northern Territories, I have no knowledge of that.
It's all over every piece of news that we've seen that can still report on this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been on and off for weeks now.
I'm going to press X to doubt here, honestly.
I mean, I'll go dig you up an article if you want.
Nah. That's not really what this show is about anyway. So, what else did I do? I think that's about it for my week. So, Vol, what have you been up to?
Nothing.
Yay!
Because all of our clients have spun up their production for Christmas. And they're crunching, which means I have to crunch also. And since we're losing staff, that means that, and the other seniors are all deciding to go on holiday, that basically means I have to operate the whole lab by myself at increased throughput with decreased staff. So
wizardry then.
I'm basically I get home at 9 o'clock feeling like I'm already dead each night. So it's not it hasn't been much fun or joy in my existence right now. But since since I'm a heathen, I don't have much in the way of employment prospects if I leave. So yeah, everything sucks and not for any good reasons whatsoever. But I don't know, mate. Things are not very stable in the laboratory sector right now, regardless. So there's no knowing where things will go. It's not sustainable because it was predicated on an addiction to cheap immigrant labour, which is now being suspended over the course of the next quarter. Mm-hmm. The requirements to maintain your residency or your visa are going up, so people will be less willing to come to the country on the basis that they'll just be able to get easy employment, because the easy employment will not pay them sufficiently anymore. But at any rate, my life has been empty of all all significant recreation. I haven't been able to really do anything at all. I finished watching the very short animated arc that is supposed to be basically the episodic gap filler for those who didn't see the Mugen Train movie for Demon Slayer. And what I would say about that is it's not worth watching. Watch the first episode, then watch the movie, and then call it good. The last episode isn't out yet, so I don't know if they've tacked an additional bit onto the end the way they tacked an additional bit onto the beginning. But because it's only a 7-episode run.
Yep.
But the story feels like it flows better as a movie. You feel the padding in it, in the series, and the main reason I feel for this is that in the movie the pacing is such that you experience it as a shonen movie. But when broken out into an episodic format, mainly what you notice is there's no character development. Because like in a shonen anime movie, there's no character development. That's always the way it is.
By design, usually, yeah.
Yeah, usually by design in their case, because they don't want to rock the boat too much, because there's usually an ongoing storyline external to that. Now, that's not the case in Demon Slayer. There's no external storyline ongoing, but Mugen Train is just a plot beat relative to the rest of the story. It's not a character development arc. So when you have a quote season unquote of an anime, and it's not real season, it's an abbreviated season because it's just a movie that's been cut differently, but when you have a season like that and none of the characters are going to end much different from when they started, it just seems like a pointless waste of time.
Yeah.
And I feel like you will perceive that if you watch it as a series rather than a movie, because as a movie it's great, it's a lark when digested in that form. But if you're watching it, week over week, or even not week over week, but as an episodic binge, it's still like it's a worse version of the movie if you watch it as a binge, and it drags without accomplishing much if you watch it week over week. So there's just no reason. There's no reason to do that. The first episode is mostly new content, so it is worth watching as sort of like you could watch it as sort of like an OVA prelude to the movie, but then watch the movie. Don't watch the rest of the series. The movie flows better, in my opinion. I don't think that there's actually any merit to it being recut as a series. I mean, it still has a lot of its good points, like its animation and its sort of dynamism, but the only reason that it got done was for broadcast purposes, is what the impression I get from it. Because you can't really broadcast a movie per se on the channels that the networks that do the broadcasting of anime in Japan.
Yeah. It doesn't really work when that story or part of the story is written as a movie.
In the world of streaming, though, that's totally an irrelevant concern. So, yeah, just watch it as a movie. If you can get it as a movie, watch it as a movie, because it's a good movie. It's a good, solid shonen movie. But as a shonen anime season, it's crap.
Yeah.
It's all of the weaknesses that a shonen movie has are magnified by being recut into that form, and the strengths are weakened. So it's basically the exact same content, except the way that it's presented makes all the good parts bad and the bad parts worse.
Yuck.
So, like, it sort of seems overly critical when I put it like that, but it is very much... The movie was written by a competent movie screenwriter to be a movie, and just carving it up differently isn't going to change that. It's still going to be a movie that has been stretched. It's sort of like the Hobbit movies. Like, Tolkien wrote that to be a adventure lark, right?
Yeah, just a short, sharp.
It was a story that he told as a bedtime story over a series of nights to his children, and then he wrote it down into a young adult novel, basically.
Yeah.
It was not designed to be a Lord of the Rings length epic, and Peter Jackson tried to make it into one.
It was only like 100 pages, and if that, from memory.
And when you watch that movie, well, it was more than 100 pages. It was still novel length, but it was a short novel.
It was a short novel, yeah.
But like I would say, it's about the length of a Japanese light novel type of length, maybe a bit longer than the average. But when Peter Jackson makes those movies, you can tell that it's been stretched.
Yeah.
That they're inserting extra bits and pieces here and there just to pad out the runtime.
When you're getting characters who pop up all over the place who were never originally in the story. Looking at you, Legolas.
Yeah, it's a more exacerbated form of the same thing, but it is the same thing that I feel from the Mugen Train arc. They've taken a very tight story and then they've carved it up in such a way as to just weaken the impact of the whole thing. Because, I mean, you think about Mugen Train takes place over the course of a couple of hours.
Yep.
And the runtime of the series is longer than the actual event. Which is problematic from my point of view as far as screenwriting goes.
Z does that.
It's just not good structuring. Well, the thing is that Dragon Ball Z is usually telling a story that is happening in many, many places at once. Mm-hmm. Like if you look at where most of the drawn out constipation takes place in, say, the Namek saga, the Frieza saga, people are usually spread across multiple different places, and they all need to be given their turn to interact with their environment and or to give their opinions on what is going on in one or more of the other locations.
Yeah, and exposition time doesn't count.
But the focus of Mugen Train is narrowed down to the one location, which is just a train. It's not even a large amount of space over the course of maybe an hour, which is not a lot of time. And they have stretched it out to 7 episodes. Like the movie is the right length of that experience, and it works because you are with them over the duration of that adventure without a break.
Mm-hmm.
So you're experiencing it along with the characters at the pace that they would experience it. And it makes sense because the length of the event is the length of the movie. In the case of the anime, they are carving it up into chunks. They are repeating scenes and recycling footage, inserting bits of animation here and there, bits and pieces that you don't really care about. Certain things lose their impact because the pace is wrong. And yeah, it's generally a good example of how you can subtly make everything worse simply by changing the presentation format because they haven't removed any of the material, and in fact they've added material in there, but it's not justifying what they've done to it. It was so good as a movie that the series just looks really poor by comparison. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of the story because it's a fun story with great animation, and I don't know when the next season is due. The next proper season
been announced on that front yet.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But as far as if you have to pick one way or the other to view this content, just watch the movie because it's a properly curated experience as opposed to a representation of the same material. It's sort of the inverse problem that you get from, you know how it's quite common in anime to make a movie that is basically a recap of half a season or a season.
Yep.
And it just doesn't really make sense because events are too compressed and you have no sense of time that passes between them when there should be time passes between them.
Yeah,
well, this is the opposite. This is the opposite phenomenon. where you have a distorted sense of time because things are dragging out much further than they should be, but the material was written to be happening in real time.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not sure what I'm going to watch next, since I'm still not that enthused about the anime that's percolating around now. I'll probably pick a few random things, maybe even terrible things that are just popcorn fun to watch, because I'm in sort of a drained state right now. Like, mentally, physically, emotionally drained state due to the amount of work strain that I'm under. And actually, the thing that is more stressful from the work is the not knowing when it's going to end, or if it's going to end, or if I'm just going to be drowning in perpetuity. So,
something dumb and brainless sounds like it's right in order here.
Yeah, so I think that I'm just going to be looking for things that are silly and relaxing. I bought and watched with great relish Bofuri on Blu-ray exactly for that reason.
Yeah, that's a good time.
It doesn't require much mental work, but it's still a real lark.
There's certainly no mental work going on behalf of the protagonist.
No, she just naturally face plants into the most absurd thing available. But yeah, I availed myself of Black Friday also, except that what I threw all my money at was I ordered a bunch of stuff from Madman. So I ordered the special edition of the third Heaven's Feel movie, because I intend to watch them all back to back once I have all the 3 Blu-rays, and I've got the first 2. I always get the special edition because the book that comes with it has the commentary from Nasu and Takeuchi on what they were thinking when they decided to put together the movies, which I always find very interesting. And I also ordered the Babylonia anime, which I really like, in contradistinction to a lot of to Fern, plus a lot of Fate fans really don't like it, and I think that that's because their expectations were too high. They bigged it up in their minds a bit too much, because Unlimited Blade Works, the anime, was really good, and the Heaven's Feel movies are exceedingly good. But FGO is just a limited format. There's not really that much that you can do with it. And there hadn't been much practice at making it done well, and Camelot was a huge flop. So I think a lot of people's expectations were too high, but I was there for the cutscenes. Like, for me, the set pieces, because for me the story is built around dramatic moments, and that's what you're there for. Everything else is just connective tissue. The big fight between Ushi and Gorgon, the big fight between Leonidas and Gorgon. I mean, like, Leonidas' thing is Last Stands, and he does a really spectacular one. And I like the scope of the story, because it's very broad and far-reaching in implication, while still being tightly focused on events and the significance of one small city within the span of both space and time, and the way that it plays out. So I like a lot of the things about the way the story is pitched. The pacing is soggy in places, of course, but like I said, I'm there for the set pieces, and I'm happy to wait until they come along most of the time. I also ordered the first season of Case Files. Second season is scheduled, I hear. Looking forward to it, because I really enjoy the Case Files setting as sort of like a different take on the same universe, but one that's still very, very real and in tune with what the Nasuverse is like. So you've got your ridiculously dramatic set pieces, like, for instance, Grey using Rongaminiad to close the gate to the Fey world, for instance. Like that's a really big Fate-style, dramatic, explosive scene, and yet it still also works in parallel with the sort of the mystery novel aesthetic. And it's a Japanese style mystery novel aesthetic, which is one that a lot of people in the West really don't like, where it is basically there's something that Yoshi P has actually talked about at great length in the past, about his feelings about mystery novels, and most people suspect that Endwalker is the conclusion arc to a mystery novel, ultimately.
Okay.
And because Yoshi P loved them ever since his childhood. He's commented in the past that he literally would not go to sleep each night when he was a kid unless he had read at least one mystery novel cover to cover. And
Okay.
if he didn't understand the conclusion, he would just read it over and over and over again until he did. But his attitude is that basically you need to write the story such that it is impossible for the reader to come to the conclusion before the detective in the story does. However, they never should be able to pick up that it's impossible. They should always have the sense that they've nearly got all the pieces, and that one last piece that they need should come in synchrony with the detective picking it up. You don't ever want a situation where the reader can completely solve and predict the story before all the pieces are presented by the detective at the end.
He's got a good point there.
Fall apart.
That was my... I've said it before on the show, actually. That was my biggest problem with Loading Ready Run. The whole story was all about mysteries, like, what is the solution to this puzzle? I solved all those way ahead of the protagonist.
Yeah, no, that was actually the reason why, in contradistinction again to virtually everybody else, I didn't like Madoka, because by about 1/3 through the series, I had solved what was going on, why, and how it would all come to an end, and everything else was just wading through pointless tragedy while I waited for all the characters to realize as well.
Yep, melodrama, particularly.
Like I can honestly see how that story can work really, really well for you if you were not in that state of mind where you knew what was happening and why, and the entire cast were just spinning their wheels at great length for no real reason. I can, if you were experiencing the tragedy along with them, if you were feeling along with them that maybe this time they'll find a way forward, then that series really works. But if you could see from the outset, like I could, that none of these things are solutions, none of this is going to address the root problem because all of your basic assumptions are wrong, and the basic assumptions are these things here, then it's just not going to work. And it was almost coincidence that I worked it out ahead of time because I was studying thermodynamics at the time. And all of the questions that were very pertinent to the mechanics of that universe were ones that I was thinking about practically at the time. And so when I slid over to watching this, all of the bits and pieces that assembled the system of the universe there leapt out to me. And by the time I'd watched a few episodes, I understood what was going on. And that ruined everything else in the series for me. But you don't want that happening in a mystery novel. And Yoshi P himself has dropped a lot of hints about what's going to happen in Endwalker. And when I say hints, I mean that they are really, really hints.
Cryptic.
In the most hinty sense of the word, like saying that, oh, well, the key thematic colour for Endwalker is platinum. And this is important.
Okay.
And it's like, well, what
that doesn't mean anything in a vacuum.
And no, but maybe we'll be able to pick up on part of the gravity of that once we start playing through the story. But he's going to be in accordance with what he believes is the correct way to write a mystery novel. He is going to be carefully pitching his story beats such that we can't really solve the whole thing ourselves, because that would ruin the rest of the story. But yeah, and he said other things as well, like there are two really important words or word concepts or something that will leap out in Endwalker, but he's not going to tell you which ones they are or why they're important. He said I think he said he was going to wait until everyone's finished the story, and then he will tell what were the ones that he was using to make the story tick.
Yep.
But yeah. Yeah, so I like the way case files are structured in that because I like the Type Moon lore, and I know a good chunk of Type Moon lore, and seeing how that plays out in the mind of somebody who's playing the role of a detective and the sorts of things that they look for and how they work. That's something that I find very appealing, especially because Magecraft in the Type Moon universe is somewhat synchronous with the way I think about the world generally, in that everything operates in accordance with certain sort of cosmic themes and principles, which have more gravity than the sort of the material way that is traditionally looked at in the West. Like, so things are important, and their importance lends weight to its own importance in a sense. Like, the fact that we think it is important is an important fact in and of itself. And that sort of thing, that the way the world is structured in Type Moon universe is a setting I find very appealing, and adding the detective stories to that makes them more interesting to me than the conventional detective stories might be. So yeah, I threw some money at that, and I'm really looking forward to the next season that's coming out shortly.
There's also the appeal of watching Waver become the butt monkey on occasion.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's basically his role in society.
Yeah,
like he's definitely clever, but his victories will never really turn out to be victories, because ultimately he's still under his little sister's thumb.
Yes.
And she's an incredible sadist.
It's also the Fate universe, and a happy ending is a complete alien concept there.
Well, I mean, theoretically, Fate has a happy ending.
Theoretically.
You know, because when Saber eternally waits for Shiro, eventually after eternity he gets to her.
Yeah.
And the same applies in Apocrypha to Sieg, in that the theory is that if he waits for eternity, eventually Jean will get to him.
If he waits for eternity, he might eventually become interesting.
I don't think that's going to happen.
That's never going to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot about that story that's just a disaster. There's lots of really cool core concepts in there that are completely fumbled.
Yes.
For no reason other than a lack of deftness on the part of the people doing the screenwriting. I don't know what it's like in the light novel, but in the screenwriting is really clumsy. And it does feel like genuine clumsiness, like they knew what they wanted to do and how they wanted to do it, but they just didn't have the skill.
Yeah. Apocrypha, I've forgotten almost everything about the main story that doesn't involve Astolfo, and the entirety of my memories of that series now can be boiled down to a Giga quote. Sometimes it takes a real man to be best girl.
Yeah. But, no, Momo had a moment, and Necrobro, I can never remember his actual name.
But the thing is that everybody actually wanted those two to be at the center of the story.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't the ones that actually had chemistry and, character.
Yes,
well, they've also got baggage. They have baggage both from the universe, the way the universe is set up, and the fact that their ways of doing things have got sort of roots in the setting that people are already aware of. Plus, they're just bigger characters.
But instead, we got Sig.
Jean has her own issues, but she's suited more to a character exploration piece that's very tightly focused on her. And because most of her issues are subtleties that would need to be really built up and explored over a lengthy period of time, the story would need to be about her in order to work. She doesn't work very well in an ensemble cast because her personality becomes washed out by the larger, louder people around her.
Yep.
And Sieg again, like Jean, would need to be in a story where he was the primary focus, and the story would need to be about him and about him building up his own personality, building up his own convictions over the course of time and trauma. It would not just be something that happens automatically as stuff just orbits around him.
Yeah, and I think that's ultimately what Apocrypha's biggest failing was it was just trying to do too many things at once.
Well, I think you can do it because Fate Zero did.
Fate Zero did do it.
They did not have the skill to do it. And they used the wrong types of characters. There is no character in Fate Zero that is like Jean or like Sieg.
Yeah.
They all have very important things about them. Like the flattest character in there is probably, like, in terms of lacking a personality, would be Irisville. But the fact is that Irisville has a pathological devotion to Kiritsugu, which becomes the focus of her character. That becomes her character, is the pathos involved in her devotion. So it doesn't matter that she's somewhat flat because she, like Sieg, is a homunculus. She has this one core thing that is true about her, around which her story turns. And that's generally true of the way the characters are developed throughout Phase Zero. In Apocrypha, you've got characters that are really strong and characters that are really weak, and the strong ones always feel like they're being robbed by the weak ones. Because, Necrobro and Momo both have very strong, loud characters. They're very clear about what they think that they want and how they think that they're going to obtain it. And they go about doing these things with greater or lesser degrees of success, and they've got to deal with the consequences of the lessers and the greaters in turn. But they don't get enough screen time to deal with it because the attention is being split trying to tread water with these other characters that don't have a natural way to develop in that context, because they don't have enough sort of exhilaration behind them to do it.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody really to push Jean along. There's nobody really to push Sieg along because he's paired up with Jean most of the time. Like there are two motivating forces in Sieg's life: Astolfo and Jean. And Astolfo is a wacko without direction, and that's why people love him, but that also makes him unsuitable as a mentor to Sieg. And Jean is a passive character by nature, which also makes him unsuitable as a motivating factor for Sieg. There are plenty of other characters that you could jam in there. Like, can you imagine a world where Momo ended up, by some trick of fate, being the servant for Sieg?
That would be disturbing.
And the clash of personalities with someone who doesn't know what he wants at all and doesn't have any strong motivation to seek or get it, along with someone whose entire life was about, this is the thing that I want to be king, I'm entitled to it, I'll seize it with my own hands if I don't get it.
Yeah.
They're two opposites. And so you would have created a story there because you've got someone paired with Sieg who can drive him to become something other than he is. In the case that it actually played out, you don't have that. You've got someone who is directionless because he has literally lost his mind, and you've got someone who is very inwardly facing and is in the story explicitly for the purpose of being absolutely neutral.
Yeah, that is her literal role in the story.
So you can use those same pieces more skillfully and rearrange them such that you end up with some dynamism, but they didn't, and that's the weakness there. Anyway, I've rambled on about that.
All right.
I'll call an end to it there because I honestly haven't done very much. In FF, the only thing I did was I gradually crept up a couple of my Disciples of the Hand classes, but that's all I have really time to do because I would get home and it would be late and I'd be tired and I'd just flop down and it's like, I can't do anything. I don't have the strength left.
All right.
All right.
Do you want to take a break or do you just want to jump straight in, Ari?
I got basically nothing this week because so we can blitz through it, I guess.
All right, jump on in.
Let me sit up straight again so I'm not a million miles away from the microphone.
Back.
So this week, it was Thanksgiving week. Monday and Tuesday were hell at work as everybody sent us everything so they would not have to do it over the holidays. And that was a nightmare. And I had no time Monday and Tuesday to do basically anything. Wednesday. At the halfway point in Wednesday, work died.
Right.
All the orders stopped, all the quotes stopped, the phone stopped ringing, and we were officially on Thanksgiving break. And this meant I got to go help cook. So, how can I describe my culinary skill in comparison to the rest of everybody? Because I am not a chef.
Heresy?
No, I can cook, but like if we're talking on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is gourmet chef, and 1 is you can burn water, I am about a 4.5 out of 5.
That's
or
not
a
bad. That puts you
or a
at
5.
average.
Yeah. I can make something that is edible if you give me the ingredients, and if you want something specific, if you give me a recipe, you will get something that doesn't taste like dog vomit.
Yeah. So yeah,
It will not be...
Even
but it will
if
not...
Even if it's pork chops?
No. Nobody can cook pork chops. Because pork chops are an abomination. So, there were no pork chops at Thanksgiving, but there was a whole lot of birds and dressing and English beef casserole, which is what I was involved in. I mostly did the English beef casserole, which may made making the English peas go in with the soda crackers and the milk and the cheese and all the good stuff that goes in that. It's a very complicated process, and I'm not going to detail the whole recipe to you. But that consumed most of my time, and I'm also the only one that eats it. So I was very invested in making sure this thing happened.
Is this something that you just have to make regardless because it's tradition?
It's something that's tradition, but I'm also the only one that actually likes it. So I'm the only one making sure the tradition stays alive at this point.
So does that mean that you get leftovers for like the next week?
If I overcook it, but I only made one pan. So other people will put it on their plate and then throw it away after they take a bite of it. And they remember, oh right, it's English pea casserole.
Wasteful.
Isn't it?
So yeah, so it's not a thing for everybody. It's got a very unique flavor and texture to it. Anyway, I'll find a picture of it. Dressing is whatever the heck your family's recipe book says. Our recipe book has like 10 recipes for it. And they picked one, and they did it, and I helped by mashing the breading. And looking over there and thinking, that's way too much water. Over and over again. It turns out I was right. Because they had to dehumidify it after they were mixing it all in the pot because they put way too much water in there. And
That's
this made
disgusting.
it kind of soggy. Kind of soggy. So we had to throw it all out and make it again.
Yeah.
So
You don't want soggy.
yeah, I don't know what it is in my family, but if you are born with 2 X chromosomes, you are genetically predisposed not to be able to cook. But you will insist on cooking, and me and the opossum will have to do all the cooking. So,
Oh dear.
he did most of the work. He's the one that... He actually practices his culinarian skills, so he actually is about a 6 out of 10. It can make something that's fairly edible and might have flavor to it. So the girls though, no, God, no, please save
Just
me.
don't.
Considering how much of Thanksgiving seems to be focused around food, your Thanksgiving sounds like it's a clown fiesta.
It is. Oh, every family holiday in the U.S. with everybody's family has a quirk like this. This is not a special case at all. this just kind of happens. So yeah, we made the dressing, and ours is basically deep fried fat and bread, and spices with stuff, and it's very good. And also, you feel like you're dying when you're eating it, but it tastes good on the way down.
I've never heard of a stuffing deep fried.
You clearly haven't been to the South.
There's nothing
No.
in the South that they won't deep fry.
This is true.
So yes, we.
Yeah,
Well,
typically-
New Zealand's not much better considering how popular deep fried chocolate bars and deep fried ice cream are here.
Yeah. Typically in
Yeah, we
Australian
don't-
stuffing is usually breading, macadamia and spices. We put nuts in it.
Yeah.
I
So
think we
there are
put
two.
fruit in it here.
Fruit.
So
Yeah, like
generally,
apricot.
yeah. Generally, when you're done live show chat, I'll show you what it looks like once it loads.
That abomination with the chicken, please.
No, but that's going in there next because I have seen these before. We did not do this.
What even
However,
is that?
The war crime.
It is a crime, yes.
I have seen that before.
Oops, or breading.
Yeah. So there's that, and then there was a whole bunch of other stuff. But basically, it was we managed to salvage dinner and have our Thanksgiving. And
Didn't have to break up any punch ups this time.
so this time,
There it is.
I was being strictly monitored by everybody at the table, and at least 3 people telling me to shut up no matter how benign what I had to say was because they didn't want me to start anything. I'm not even exaggerating.
I can
There's no
believe it.
embellishment. There's no embellishment in this story whatsoever. This is exactly what happened. I was not allowed to speak, pretty much, for fear of causing an incident, we'll say.
Incident.
And people that know me know exactly why that's the case. I was still not happy about it, and I'm still not happy about it. because it just means people are a bunch of wimps and need to grow a pair. So yeah, that was my adventures with Thanksgiving for the most part, and that consumed most of my time. The bit of time I did have, just little bits here and there throughout the week, I've been slowly, very slowly, taking Abo through Code Vein.
So you just dropped SMT?
For now, I want to do it when I can really sit down and commit time to it. But because of the way the Thanksgiving break works, my free time is spotty, and I don't want to completely blow SMT like that. That isn't how you're supposed to play an SMT game. You're supposed to play it in as much of a stretch as possible and take in the world and what the themes the story is trying to say, and you just can't do that if you keep putting it down.
As opposed to immerse yourself.
Yes. And that just ain't possible when we're in this kind of holiday bump. Maybe right after Rantathon, I should have a little bit of time for holidays, and I'll try and squeeze it in then. This one when I'm going to try and go through it. I'm still enjoying what little bit I played of it, but yeah, I pretty much put it on hold.
Enough.
And then, so yeah, not a whole lot to report going through Code Vein. It's his first Dark Souls type game, but it's co-op and heavily co-op focused. So I can bail him out and lessen his, what's a good word for it?
Suffering.
Yeah.
Being sodomized.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of res me, and you can spend half of your HP to pick up the other guy.
So your HP gets half, then a quarter, then an eighth, then a 16th.
Yeah. Now it doesn't help too much if he dies immediately to the next attack because it's got like a 10-second cooldown on it.
Yeah, then you're dead.
Yeah, then you're just dead. And if the guest dies, they just get booted out of the game. If the host dies, everybody loses, and you all get booted back to wherever you were in your own games, and they get booted back to the last bonfire. The rest of that.
Actually, bonfires.
So, no, they're mistals, but they're bonfires in every way, shape, and function, except they're called mistals. But yeah, and Code Vein is very much so Dark Souls, but with an anime skin. It cribs every single gameplay mechanic from Dark Souls. It's clearly a little more than just a bit inspired by it. It has a whole bunch of things that Dark Souls doesn't have, but they're added on top of the system that Dark Souls already has. And the only thing it does fundamentally different is you cannot choose the stat points you get when you level up. Those are just those are assigned with the equipment you equip and what they call a blood code, which is a class you can equip and change on the fly. That's the only system that's fundamentally different. Everything else, the way the stats scale, the way the bosses work, the way the level design is laid out, the way you attack, your stamina usage, all that crap is exactly the same.
Right.
And there's the Icar system tacked on top of it, but it's an add-on, not a replacement. And then there's the gift system, which is also an add-on, not a replacement. And so it's a very, very Dark Souls type game. But it does have one thing Dark Souls will never ever have.
Oh?
Every single lady has just jiggle physics. All of them.
There it is.
Without exception. Even your character. And I was thinking about this while playing Code Vein. There is not a single person who does not have a dyed hair color at the moment who does not think jiggle physics are funny.
Physics out.
Like, I don't understand why people just wouldn't make this an option in every single game to at least turn on, because it's a win-win. Everybody finds them funny, unless you're a crazy libtard.
Well, they're not exactly titillating.
No, they're funny.
They're funny.
They're hilarious.
No, some people got to ruin the fun for everyone.
But yeah.
Yeah,
no.
honestly, I never realized, and until you mentioned that, I never thought that their intention was to be titillating, because they're not. They're always comical.
Yeah, they're always funny.
It's an extra comedy feature.
So yeah.
Especially if the physics bug out.
Oh yeah.
Doubly so then.
Oh, and it's lovely because they're treated as independent objects in Code Vein.
Yes. They start to flail.
They start to flail.
For some of the larger girls, they do. And but also, there's a bug in multiplayer, and I'm waiting for this bug to happen. It hasn't happened yet. Where anything that's classified as an independent object, when the guest loads into the host's game, if the host was doing an animation, or that had that object doing an animation, there's about a 1% chance that one object will grow to such a super size it consumes the entire other person's screen.
All right. I mean, if you want top class silliness.
So yeah. And I mean, I don't know a single man or woman that I've ever talked to and associated with on the reg that did not think jiggle physics were funny.
Jiggle physics are just so damn stupid.
Every girl I've known, every guy I've known, every single one's been like, those are funny. Look at those. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
got
everybody laugh.
No basis in reality.
And then everybody has a good laugh.
Yeah.
But no, we can't have nice things.
I mean, there was a similar phenomenon around Conan Exiles, was there not?
Ah, yes.
Also,
the wind socks.
Also funny.
Also funny. Also slightly disturbing and makes you cross your legs, but still funny. That looks painful.
So yes, having a bit of fun taking him through that. I accidentally sent Vol a picture of a bug we had, where I was trying to show Abo what I was talking about. There's an ice level where there's thin ice around that will disappear if you walk on it, and I died because I got Aloha Snack Bart off the edge of the map and had to reconnect to his game, and all the ice was gone at that point. But on my screen, it was all still looked like there was thin ice. So I could fall through the world, just randomly.
You just fall through random bits of non-existent ice.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
So the co-op in that game is got its issues, despite being a co-op game, but it's mostly dumb, silly, fun things like that happen. So I'm having fun going through that as something that's just casual. I'm skipping all the cutscenes to save us time because we have to do everything twice because I don't have a PC save file.
Ah.
So I'm skipping all the cutscenes and just zipping through the levels as fast as I can. But it's been a while. It's been a hot minute since I played Code Vein, so I don't remember any of the levels. I only remember them in the broad strokes. So trying to re-remember places, it's just like, we'll get to a new area and I'll be like, oh, right, this place. F this place.
Yeah, I got sitting there in the playlist for Windows Live, or whatever they want to call it these days.
Games Pass?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that's where I was getting to with this. We pulled the trigger on the $1 for 3 months of Games Pass.
It's a pretty good deal.
So yeah, and Code Vein is a multiplayer game. I've wanted to do multiplayer with somebody for a while, and it's specifically you need a singular other person for multiplayer.
Yes.
And my pet Abo is perfect for that.
Right.
So yeah, that's really it. I have not been going hard on Final Fantasy at all. A couple roulettes here and there on my monk, and that's about it. I'll do.
You said you didn't like the monk.
Well, at this point, it's still not coming together, but I can see abilities down the tree that make it look like it comes together.
Yeah.
I just wanted to take it to completion to see if I really don't like it, and then I justify this by, if I still don't like it, it's done, and I don't have to worry about it.
Isn't Monk getting a bit of an overhaul come 6.0?
No, they already had theirs.
Okay.
It's not an overhaul, but like there are certain core things about it that are being altered. Like greased lightning won't be a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, it's already not a thing. They already did all that.
And
Yeah,
what you're aiming for at the apex of your rotation is now different.
Right.
Yeah. You're now buff cycling and trying to apply the right buffs to different combinations of abilities. It's a little janky right now because I'm still mid-level, and they've just applied the greased lightning removal, like less than a patch and a half ago. So there's clearly some obvious rework and some points in the quest line that don't make any sense anymore. Because there's no class mechanic.
Yep.
But you don't. Grease lightning is now just a permanent trait, always active, like Blood of the Dragon's going to be.
Oh, good.
No. When I say they're removing greased lightning, I mean they're removing greased lightning.
Oh, they're just taking the trait out completely now?
Yeah, because it doesn't do anything now, does it? Ultimately.
Yeah,
it's just a buff that you've got to keep up as you keep going. Grease Lightning's always been like that.
Yeah,
but they're just getting rid of it and they're baking those stats into other things.
There is no Grease Lightning buffer stat right now. It's just a trait that's always on. You'd never have to push a button for it or build it up at all.
Right. No, I think that they're taking those numbers and they're baking them in.
Okay, so they're either removing the flat 20%.
I could be wrong about that because when you know what it's like when someone on a live letter, producer's live letter, is talking about a class that you just don't play. And you're trying to understand what they're saying, but you're missing several key facts about what the topic is they're discussing.
Yeah, especially
that's what it sounded like to me.
Especially a class that's just been through a rework.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the thing is that monks are never happy. So it's sort of hard to say. In fact, I think the impression that I get is that monks are most happy when they're unhappy.
Okay.
Like they're always mad that the samurai does more damage than us, but they don't have to do practically anything to get it, and we have to work so hard and blah 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 blah. But I think if they didn't have that opportunity to whinge about how much better they are than everybody else, it would make them really sad.
Maybe we'd have to see. But I'm at the moment I'm not enjoying Monk very much, but I am leveling it, and if I wind up not liking it at 80, I got or 90, I guess, because it won't be 80 in time for Endwalker at the rate we're going. But if I wind up not liking it at 90, it's done, and I can just put it on the shelf as a trophy. But I've got my Dragoon for melee DPS. I've got which will actually be fun to play when I don't have to push the Blood of the Dragon button. You have no idea how obnoxious that button is.
I have a much better idea than you about how obnoxious that button is. Number one, I play Dragoon more than you do, and number two, I played it back when Blood of the Dragon had a really long cooldown, and it fell off constantly.
Yeah, I know. I was directing it more at Fern and the audience in general. But
the thing with Dragoon is that Dragoon, after Heavensward, the rotation was very set. Like there was no surprises. You knew what you had to do, and provided you could keep count, your rotation was actually very simple. It was just 20 odd steps long, and you could do it. The problem was that only applied provided that you were never interrupted in any way. Which never happens. So, and your penalty for being interrupted back then was Blood of the Dragon falling off and you being reset to the start of your massive rotation, except with no buffs this time.
Yeah. Yeah, so now it has been alleviated quite a bit, with plenty of ways to extend Blood of the Dragon and keep it going throughout a fight, but just having to push that button because I don't play it in a raid setting. I play it when I'm questing, or when I'm out in the world doing stuff. And having to push that Blood of the Dragon button between every single pull is just, it feels bad, man.
I didn't play since Blood of the Dragon came out. When I raided on Dragoon, it was like Binding Coil of Bahamut. So I was just dying due to animation lock.
But yeah, other than that button, I love the Dragoon. I think it's a lot of fun to play. And I have Astrologian, which I'm planning on maining in Endwalker. I have Paladin, which will be my tank, and Dancer will be my primary DPS that I raid with, because as frustrating as the Dancer is, and it is a frustrating class, when it really starts rolling and you get all the feathers, it's really fun.
Yep.
It has. I'm sure happens only on trash mobs.
Oh yeah, it never happens at the right time. There's a bunch of people with RP flags in this Alamegan town I'm in that are just flying around in regalias around the Aetheryte.
That's probably a streamer there.
It's better than what people with RP flags do in World of Warcraft.
Oh no, they do it.
That's true.
You go to Limsa the Mincer at the wrong time of day and you'll find out.
Oh, they keep the really saucy stuff at their private houses, from what I understand.
Yeah, the really saucy stuff.
But they do advertise that saucy stuff.
Yes.
In Limsa.
Please stop.
Yeah, I think it's actually against TOS to do that in Limsa.
Specifically in Limsa?
Or any public area. It might be against TOS in general, but if you keep it to your house, you're not likely to get reported.
Well, yeah, if it's in a private space, you can do whatever, but just don't do it in public. It's gross and weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm now thinking of your Barakat in the 2B outfit. Anyway. Yeah. I met all my goals for rating for the in-game stuff and stories I wanted to see. The stuff that required a group to do. The last one is Alexander, and I'm probably going to have to rewatch that one when we're done, because at the rate we're going, we're going to wind up doing that one during Rantathon, and me and Vol may or may not be totally wasted double healing it.
I still need to do Warring Triad.
I went ahead and did Warring Triad because the Void Quest series was locked behind it, and just pugged it. Yeah, I'd be up to doing those fights occasionally if you need help with them, or you just want somebody to come queue with you.
Yeah, I still gotta go do Ball of Burbs.
We'll see if I ever get time off.
But yeah, that's the only. Speaking of, because I did the Warring Triad questline, I got to see the end of the Void Quest and get the big culmination of doing all the role quests.
Oh, nice.
And that is a huge chunk of foreshadowing that I can't piece anything together from for a future expansion that's almost certainly coming involving the 13th, or a piece of content from it at least. Maybe a patch or a dungeon or something. So yeah, that was really cool to see, and it involves a bunch of the characters, especially characters from the caster role quest line that show up and do stuff.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to hauling things into Eorzea out of the 13th, it's pretty much a Black Mage thing and Thaumaturge thing.
Yeah. Things that go boom generally.
So the residents, the first for the caster quest line, help you do stuff with the 13th, and yeah, that quest line's all about setting up a potential future story there, which is cool.
Yeah.
But its requirements are absurd. You have to level to 80 and do all the role quests available in the Crystarium for combat classes. You have to do Void Arc. You have to do the Warring Triad, and you have to do You have to do Eden. All of Eden to unlock it.
That's a lot of stuff to do.
A lot of in-game content required to.
I mean, the reward is lore. So, like, as far as I'm concerned, you can do whatever ridiculous requirements you want on there. You're not being gated out of gameplay. It's like, well, this is the special bit of lore you get as lots and lots of other pieces of lore start to come together.
Yeah, I'm okay with it because it's all foreshadowing lore. None of it's important to any of the stories that are going on.
Yeah, you're not going to get that box that comes up telling you, oh no, you need to go do the Void Quest before you should progress the story.
Yeah, no, this is all set up for future content, which is what I expected, and they put it together in a really cool way that's worth seeing if you have the requirements met. But yeah, other than that, I haven't done anything. I've stretched the little bit I have done as long as I can, I think. It's just been one of those weeks.
Yeah, they're becoming all too frequent.
With a holiday. So, Endwalker in 7 days ish.
See, I need to pop up my calendar actually. Let's see. Comes out on December the 7th for general access. Early access, I think, is on the 3rd. From memory? About 5 days ish.
I'll be dying at work, so.
Yeah, I will be having trouble because this will be the post-Thanksgiving week. I will get on when I can, but I'm going to be dead after work. So unless I completely kill my sleep during a work week.
This is the oh crap, the year is ending week.
Yeah. And what's even better is after Christmas, it's guess what time of year it is? Tax time.
Or tax.
It's always tax season.
Always tax season. There's no such thing as not tax season.
Oh, let's go, Brandon.
Alright. Shall we do a break?
Yep, here's some music, folks. We'll be right back. And we're back.
Yep, I will continue to power wash this shoe.
Rightio then.
It must be a very dirty shoe.
It is actually an incredibly dirty shoe. It is also a very large shoe.
You shouldn't pressure wash anything that has leather or faux leather on it, just in case anybody in real life is wondering.
I think this is actually theme park plastic. Anyway. So yeah, I'm just going to keep on. This is a very chill game. You can just kick back and just clean in some shoes. Or, a playground or skate park that looks like kids who walk in there will catch typhoid or something. Yeah. We should, actually, before we get too carried away on that, check the email box.
Yes, we do have an email.
Do you have an email? Do you have it up?
Yes, I do.
Not.
Go for it then, because I did not look before the show, because I are professional.
No, RSL, don't give me kudzu. I've got plenty of... No, I don't want 78 kudzu. No.
That's okay.
Fine.
You leave it alone,
I'll
you'll
take
have
your
130 kudzu soon.
Yes, I already have 105 now.
See?
Oh well, I guess I can't have everything that I want, which is no kudzu. Where was I? Anyway, dear No Excuses. Not innocent. By some miracle, he was born on the same day as Greta Thunberg. I ship them.
Oh, why?
That's a horrible thing to say about someone. I don't know why you would say such a thing.
Incidentally, I did
this
actually...
about Free Guy?
On that note, and speaking of horrible abominations, I did see someone pop up with a Greta Thunberg body pillow.
Yeah, I've seen that going around some months ago.
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you?
I inextricably associate Greta Thunberg now with Dave Landau's skit as Greta Thunberg's unwanted sibling. But anyway, moving on. So apparently those guys in the state of Czechoslovakia, and he's crossed out Slovakia, so this must be some sort of Eastern European butthurt. So apparently those guys in the state of Czechoslovakia created a genre with Factorio, and the newest entry is Factory Town. A lot more relaxed take on the whole conveyor belt jungle concept. In this game, you first have all your workers running around between buildings to deliver product, and gradually upgrade everything to belts and pipes, hopefully not creating a horrible mess of spaghetti, with the workers themselves working in the buildings. They have to be supplied with food and other items, so there are minor aspects of Caesar/Pharaoh-like games. And later on, you have magic for some reason. Also, the water pipes can transport milk. That would have been useful to know earlier. All in all, Factory Town is a fun game, only costing €15 and right now half off.
I did see that one.
Since you guys
it's very cute looking.
Since you guys cover anime, I keep my finger on the pulse of Western animation, like how the new He-Man is even worse with the second half of the season released, or like how the CGI He-Man, because releasing 2 cartoons of the same series at the same time is a good idea, is actually not that bad, or how that Disney animator who worked on the Owl House, which he has in parentheses, medium degeneracy cartoon with the occasional sausage smile, made 2 million in less than an hour. Pibble-Yeet or whatever his name, or what's his name? What's not Sausage Smile was Batman Long Halloween, a 2-parter adaptation of the comic of the same name. This one actually utilised a very different art style from the usual Justice League, and had me guessing for the identity of the Holiday Killer until the end. A good recommend. They also released the animated version of Injustice, something that really should have been a 2-parter too, because Superman's descent into villainy was rushed, and Harley's character growth was completely omitted. It's alright, I guess. Serathus.
Yeah, I've pretty much given up on Western animation for the most part. Every now and again, you get a gold nugget out of it.
The entire world is raving about how great the League of Legends one is.
Why though? League of Legends?
I don't know. I've heard that it is, in fact, all that I've heard, quite simply, is that it is just superlatively good along every axis. Okay. Largely due to the fact that there is no Cal Arts involved whatsoever. It's done entirely in their own style.
I mean, the fact that there's no Cal Arts at all is an accomplishment all on its own at this point.
I've just heard universally good things about it. Like, all of the audience ratings and that are really, really high. It's like 9 point something on IMDb, is 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I don't mean the critical score, I mean the audience score. Like, everybody just says it's incredible, and it's not just nerds either. It's like normies are coming across it and watching it and really enjoying it. And it's mainly popular in places that are not the Anglosphere.
Okay. There must
Like,
be some sort of resonance there.
The only places where it's not like the number one show of all time is like America and Western Europe and Japan. In Japan, probably because there's just too much competition.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I've heard nobody say anything but glowing praise for it.
If it does actually turn out to be that good, I want full credit for it because I funded that company.
Yeah, but on the other hand, there is the Zig and Heimerdinger rhythm game, which you also funded.
Yeah, I've heard it's buggy as crap.
Yeah, it looks it, honestly.
But yeah, I mean, they're doing a really bang up job at building their brand. Like, just view it entirely from a mercenary perspective. They're doing an incredible job at making sure people are aware of their brand, their IP. They're branching out into every conceivable genre. They're tying their characters into them in such a way that there's overlap. Like, they're making they put the dinger in the rhythm game because the dinger is also in the animation. So that gives a sort of like a link between the two. And they're doing a specific game about the new dude Echo that they've created, and they're also making him a major player in the arcade fighter that they're making, and so on and so forth. And I think that this is all basically laying very thorough and extensive groundwork for their MMO project.
It looks like it, yeah.
So that when the MMO finally drops, it will be a universe that lots of people are familiar with. They know a lot of the important players. They know a lot of the important locales. Basically, they are trying to create the Warcraft universe ahead of World of Warcraft, in the way they did it for their own IP.
Burn it to the ground later.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what World of Warcraft did, but they got, like, 2 decades worth of profit out of it first, didn't they?
Yeah, that's true. They did do a few things right.
But yeah, so I think that's what's going on. They've been very, very effective at it. Like, this animation has dragged in a whole bunch more people, and they have spared no expense in getting people to watch it. Like, they're going to ridiculous lengths to advertise it. And they've been very effective in the past. Like, things that just seem like gimmicks to us, like that music video, that K-pop music video they did. Like, that seems like a really dorky gimmick to us, but what that actually, the effect of that in practice is it builds rapport with that extremely broad audience of people who are fanatical about K-pop. And those people now recognize League of Legends as a thing, and moreover a thing that is associated with and understands their subculture.
Yep.
So basically this whole thing is an extensive project in creating the presence of LoL in people's minds, and this is why they've got the cross-genre thing, right? Like, the rhythm game is to make LoL an entity in the minds of rhythm game players, the fighting game to make League of Legends a thing for the FGC. Like, this is the project to try and spread their tendrils everywhere, so when they have a really broadly appealing, massively expensive game with a humongous potential for profit, they can rake in customers from every imaginable quarter all at once.
It'll be a shame if their MMO turns out to be crap, but yeah.
Well, it's being led by Ghostcrawler, so they could go either way.
It could go either way,
really
yeah.
good, because when Ghostcrawler was on his game, he was really good at what he did.
But then he fell off the wagon in a big way.
Well, you see, the thing is that there's a vacuum now, because there are a lot of people who just won't ever play FF14 because they don't like the Eastern style, they don't like the Japanese storytelling, they don't like the Japanese characters. There's just a lot about it that doesn't appeal to them. And World of Warcraft has dropped the ball again and again, and every time our boy Bobby opens his mouth, he makes the problem worse.
Yes.
So the bloom has very much fallen off that flower right now, and I doubt it's going to grow another one anytime soon.
Yeah, so now you've got Riot in the wings with their MMO and saying, hey, we've got Ghostcrawler from the days when WoW was good.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
Ghostcrawler...
They will work for they will work for the hardcores, but I think that what they are doing is they're building an ecosystem for their MMO to exist in. So the MMO is not going to be something like WildStar, where it's got nothing peripheral surrounding it and it drops into the middle of nowhere and has to somehow grab people which have no rapport with the characters, with the setting, with the classes, with anything like that. And instead, you've got this situation where, oh, well, you can drop people into this game, and all the first major town, is the example I heard someone give online, is the first major town they encounter is Piltover, and they recognize this from the TV show.
Oh, yeah.
And so they immediately got like a association in their mind of, this is what this place is like, these are the important figures in this town, this is the culture here, this is the political situation. There's a lot of hooks in there for all of the other media that they've consumed surrounding this IP. Yep. Or in reverse, you can get a generic MMO player who's gone to it because it's the new Western style cartoony MMO to replace World of Warcraft, and suddenly they will discover this whole universe of other media that's all hooked into this thing that they've now become part of the world of.
Yeah, they're actually organically growing a world.
As a business strategy, what they're doing is pretty thorough and pretty canny and incredible. The question is always going to be about execution.
Yes.
How well can they pull it off? But from everything that people have been saying about their animation, the Western animation, is really, really, really good. I haven't watched it. I don't have much of a rapport with League of Legends characters, so I haven't thrown myself on that grenade. But if it turns out that it's really good, I may have to.
Yeah, I think if it turns out to be good enough, I might go and have a look at it.
The fact that it's not CalArts rubbish is a huge point in its favour, because it means that what they set out for was not to make Western animation only its League of Legends theme. They set out to make something they felt was worthy of their IP.
Yeah, CalArts basically smacks as, we wanted to make something, but we didn't want to put any effort into it.
And then you get High Guardian Spice.
Yes. And people are continuing to pee on that. I mean, even Crunchyroll knew they had a turd on their head. That's why they didn't launch it.
I think they knew they had a turd on their hands, but they couldn't face the reality that you can't just give that turd to people and expect them to like it. But yeah. I think that they actually expected that they would at least achieve a modicum of success because of people blindly watching it anyway. But the reality is that other than a few hate watchers, nobody wanted to watch it.
The only people who are actually watching it are those who are memeing on it.
Yeah, people who are stream watching it so that they could laugh at it with their audience.
Yes.
That's not really the sort of thing you want to build your brand as an animation company.
That's how you know you failed.
And front and center was always the unavoidable fact that nobody sees you as an animation company. What they wanted was for you to license anime, and you betrayed them.
Yes. You had one job.
That's okay. Yeah. That's what Bob's for.
That's what Honest Bob is for these days.
So yeah, I mean, I don't even hear about these like DC animated specials that seem to constantly come out. Like, I don't hear about them. Nobody talks about them in any circle that I move into.
Some of the ones he's talking about are quite old. The Injustice one, unless there's another Injustice one that's come out since then, is pretty old.
Well, if there's one thing that Western comics do, it's retread the same story over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's not even like in Eastern stuff where they redo isekai over and over, or they redo shonen over and over. No, in the West they literally just do the exact same story and animate it again and again, much like doing remakes and reboots in video games.
Please stop.
Yeah. How many times have we seen The Killing Joke now?
Too many.
I don't think we've seen The Killing Joke that many times.
Well, the thing is that The Killing Joke has its own unique presence in the public consciousness, which is why somebody who has virtually never read a Western comic like myself knows about it, because people talk about it all the time. But as such, if I read it, it would probably have very little impact for me.
Yeah, I think you got a bad example there too.
I've got all of this padding, this like cultural padding and association associated with that.
Yeah, Killing Joke I think is a bad example, but it's because it's just such a an iconic piece, how about you try just any superhero's origin story? Just pick one at random. Any one of them.
Which one of them? Like, which origin story?
Well, yeah, in
because
some cases.
any given hero has any number of origin stories, and most of them are currently being rewritten to make the character more diverse.
Yeah, and it's being universally panned. But
oh yeah, but the people who are doing it, who are involved in this project, don't care about whether it's good or not. They care about whether it is moral by their moral system.
Yes. But the fact that people are actually watching it or not is completely irrelevant. They've fixed it.
But I mean, that's how Hollywood has worked for the longest time, and that's the infectious system that has moved out into other media. Because I mean, in the case of Hollywood, they had people who knew, and this dates back to the era of McCarthyism. McCarthy was right about literally everything, by the way, and if anything, he was too soft. But the issue is that right back in that era, the decision was made by those who wanted to push radical leftism as a philosophy using Hollywood as a vehicle for propaganda, decided that they were willing to throw money at projects that couldn't make money purely to create that haze of propaganda, a haze of media that all shared particular values. The profitability of the project was irrelevant. That was not the point. The point was that they were willing to invest as much money as necessary to replace the cultural media landscape with a particular set of their chosen values. And that's what's moved into all these other spaces now, which is why, you know, we are approximately 3.5 days away from woke Space Marines. Because it's not about good or bad in terms of quality. It's not about what the fans do or do not want. It's not about profitability or lack thereof. It is about absolute cultural hegemony. And hegemony is their term as well. Like that's part of their way of thinking, is that, well, you've got this type of hegemony, whether it's like, you know, cis white straight male Christian American hegemony or their hegemony. So the only outcome that they see is total conquest. There's no room for them for pluralism. Pluralism is just a thing that they use to sell their ideas to people who aren't willing to surrender entirely. They just want to dominate everything, so you replace all of the media with one particular type of thing. That's why Cerathis has to talk about, you know, the CalArts as being the reference point for Western animation, because that's where the hegemony spreads out from. CalArts, and by that I mean the institution that produces those animators and artists.
Yeah.
They are trying to create a dominant media landscape where everything is that, and everything is described in reference to that. So, you know, people are happy, like I was happy to hear that they didn't do League of Legends Sausage Mouth Edition, because, you know, the landscape has now been redefined relative to CalArts. CalArts is now symbolic of Western animation.
Yeah.
And how far do you have to fall before that becomes the case?
It's also symbolic of everything that's wrong with Western animation, which
No, that would be good if that were the case.
Yeah.
It is true that is the case, but it is not symbolic of what's wrong with Western animation. It is merely symbolic of Western animation.
Yes.
That's why everything that is not CalArts stands out so much. Because when people hear Western animation, now they think CalArts. That's what they expect to see. And they are pleasantly surprised when they don't see it.
Putting independent one-offs aside in movies, can you think of a single Western animated anything in the past 3 years that isn't CalArts, that penetrated the public consciousness?
Anything beyond one-offs? Nope.
Like,
it's not the done thing anymore. Like there are exactly 2 animation styles that are left in current use in the main, and that is the Justice League type that Cerathis mentions, and the Steven Universe type, which is the most iconic CalArts one. But they're both CalArts at the core. Very simplified, stylized designs.
Yes.
But I mean, I hear that the League of Legends one is totally different, done by a studio dedicated to making something very distinct.
Might actually be worth watching it just for the to support that.
So there is a recognition artistically that Western animation art and design has been strangulated by CalArts, and I hope that its success will see the part of that industry that is not focused on the politics as the primary goal will see, oh well, actually there is this creative space that can be ridiculously successful and get a lot of attention if we just let go of this way that we have been, brainwashed into saying we have to do it this way. Because you can look, when you look at something like High Guardian Spice, you can tell that it wasn't made to be good.
No.
Because there's no love in it anywhere. Everything is stock designs, stock plot lines, stock diversity injected into every available crack and orifice. Like it's not about being good. But in the case of Riot Games, they want to build their IP. They want their IP to be recognized as something that is universal and expensive and detailed, and there's a lot of intellectual room for creators and fans to play in. And so you can't settle for doing something paint by the numbers, because you need that to stick in people's minds. It can't join the ranks of everything else. It has to be its own thing.
Yeah. So, actually, yeah. If it's going to go that, they're going to go to that length, we might as well just check it out, actually.
I don't even know where you go to watch it.
Honest
I
Bob's,
don't know
I think,
where it's published.
I think it's actually on Netflix, so Honest Bob's.
Yeah, don't support Netflix though. If at all possible, don't support Netflix, because they'll just they'll use your support to release Cuties too.
I think they've already done that, but it wasn't Cuties, but they did something equally bad.
I campaigned so hard to get my dad to cancel the family Netflix sub that everybody in the house mooches off of.
But from what I gather, most American households see Netflix as like the power utility.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is now something that you just have. It's either that or you have to pay for cable, or in my dad's case, both, for some stupid reason.
Does he watch both?
My mother likes to watch murder porn and 90s dramedies on the television with commercials.
Without rising from the couch.
Oh, I wish it was the couch. It's her
without
bed.
rising from the bed. Yeah, my parents were always very, very stridently against the idea of having televisions in bedrooms, like as a principal thing. And I'd never understood it before, but now that I've sort of got a little bit more experience in the room, I can see how corrosive that type of living could be.
Oh yeah,
if you can have entertainment piped directly into your head without rising from your bed.
Yeah, I didn't understand it either until I moved into the current house we're in, and there is no TV in my bedroom. When you have a dedicated room just to go to sleep, this whole phenomenon of I can't sleep disappears. If there's no television in there, and you don't drag a source of entertainment in there, when you associate that room with sleep, you put your head on the pillow, you're going to sleep.
There's nothing else for you to do.
I found that as well. Even though all my computer and my gaming consoles and that are all in my bedroom, I paid a premium to get the largest bedroom available in this house that we are currently living in, and basically it means that I can't reach anything except my bookshelf from my bed as far as entertainment is concerned. So while I still have the just one more page issue, generally speaking, I don't have as much of a problem with my games are within reach. Like even portable ones, like my Switch is placed as far away from my bed as it could possibly be. Yeah. So that I can't stay in bed and play video games. It's bad enough that I have to have my phone within reach because of the alarm, but yeah.
Yeah, I found it much healthier to not have any form of entertainment anywhere near me in bed. Instead, what I find myself doing is falling asleep to chuny fantasies about overthrowing the U.S. government. I'm not even kidding. If you're having trouble sleeping, just invent a chuny-ass story in your head and tell it to yourself with you as the central protagonist. You'll be asleep in 10 minutes.
Yeah, because chuny stories like that where you're a Marisu are always boring.
They're always boring. They're also incredibly stupid.
Yeah, stupid and entertaining, but dim and always the same.
Yeah.
And when you're in the realm between Dreamland and Waking Land, really fun stuff can happen sometimes that your brain didn't quite come up with.
Superpowers go burr.
Anyway, so Fern, tell us more about this factory town thing because I don't really understand what he's describing.
I haven't actually played it yet. It's on the wish list to do, but it looks like
what distinguishes it from its fellows?
It's very bright, colourful, and kind of cutesy, unlike Satisfactory and Factorio, where they've Factorio
honestly,
is diesel punk, as they call it.
Probably the number one thing that has put me off of those autism simulators is that they look so drab.
Yeah. Satisfactory is not as drab, but it is still like you plonk down machines. In case of Factory Town, everything's kind of cute and blocky. And instead, while there's a certain degree of plonking down machines, it looks like you plonk down a factory, you put your workers in there, and everything's then connected by a little steam railroad. Or a spaghetti of steam railroads, if you so choose to do that. So yeah, there's a bunch of options in various flavors of autism for these games out on the market now. So, Factorio really kind of cracked a new market, I guess. I don't think it was the first because there's games like Free Enterprise back in '95, which did it as well. But yeah, there's a big market for it. Each kind of has their own appeals. Like Satisfactory, they've basically got a deploy dopamine button. So yeah. I don't think I'm going to really have time to look at Factory Town before Rantathon. I'll see what happens. Maybe I will see what happens.
The joys of the family business.
Yeah. Thankfully,
well, I work for a corporate shoggoth, and that's not any better.
Yeah.
Oh, I was mostly doing it to mock you and your shoggoth.
Feed the shoggoth. Yeah, thankfully we actually I spent a lot of yesterday training a casual driver, so time should free up a little bit.
Casual driver, so casual.
Casual. Hey, he's taking some shifts. There's shifts I don't have to do.
I'm terrified of casual contracts. I've only had bad experiences with them in the past. And I'm not talking about me being on a casual contract. I'm talking about the people which have been employed on casual contracts and their flexible approach to coming in when they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Whenever we have casual contractors we have to work with that are doing stuff at a job site. And yes, those do exist because the government is super cheap when it can be. They always take forever to get any information back to me or any documentation I need. We're not talking a few hours. We're talking, you're lucky if you get it that week.
Yeah, usually for people who are on casual contracts, it's not their first job. It's like a side job. Or they're, a high school kid. Which is kind of the casual problem contract we have around here is the high school kids just never show up for their shifts. Which is not a good thing for later in life. But yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't be a problem if you could just fire people, but it's very hard to fire people.
Casual contractors, at least in Australia, is you can just not require them. And because they're not actually working, you don't need to pay them. But if you don't need them, then you don't need to pay them.
Technically speaking, that's true here as well, but there are ways... My opinion is that if you give out a casual contract, you are opening yourself up to a litigation minefield, because if they can establish a pattern in the work that you give them, then they can say that they are being treated functionally as a part-time employee, therefore they will be under the law entitled to the protections afforded a part-time employee, which withdrawal of hours they're protected against that. So you have to, if you want to be protected against the pitfalls and employing casuals in New Zealand, you have to make sure that they can never establish that they are being used in anything but a casual capacity.
Yeah, like Australia's the same.
You can't give them the same day every week after week for several weeks running, because that will make them have a legal defence against dismissal.
Yeah, all this stuff is foreign to me as a resident of the U.S. and furthermore a resident of Georgia, and furthermore while I was growing up a resident of rural Georgia, where if you did not show up for your shift, you were fired the next day, no questions. That was it.
Yeah, no call, no show means that no job.
Yeah, if you have a job and you miss a shift, your boss is either going to give you the biggest dressing down in the world when you get there, or you're going to get fired. And it didn't matter if you were a 16-year-old kid or a full-grown man that should know better. That is not something you do here.
It's kind of the other extreme.
Yeah, we have the opposite. It doesn't matter what type of contract or what type of employment you have. You show up for whenever you're scheduled to work, or your ass is grass.
Yeah, bitch, you're not paying me enough to yell at me.
Yeah,
you haven't paid me for that privilege.
Yeah, the boss will hope you quit in the dressing down so they don't have to do any paperwork.
And that's when you stay out of spite.
Oh, then they'll just fire you.
Yeah.
They'll just say, screw it, I'll do the paperwork. Because you don't have any legal recourse for that in a state like Georgia, in the rural areas especially, where employers are mostly small businesses, and they have all the power to manage whoever they employ. And you work at their pleasure, which works out to a really healthy work environment for the people that actually show up and do their jobs.
Yeah. For those who don't.
Not so much for the destitutes and layabouts.
Where were we going? Were we talking about something?
I don't remember. I don't remember at all.
Factorio was there. The Happy Factorio he was talking about.
Yeah, happy.
There was some CalArts in there, some League of Legends.
Yeah. The more I hear about this League of Legends and the fact that the more it's not CalArts, I'm willing to go give it the benefit of the doubt. Let me see. Factory Town.
I have remained oddly quiet while we've been talking about the League of Legends thing, and there's a very, very good reason for that. League of Legends did psychological damage to me, and those around me, and physical damage to my wallet, and the company has not, as Riot, has not been in my good graces for a while, so I am hesitant to give any kind of positive optimism towards the company.
Here we go, Factory Town. It is.
Well, this is the situation where when the bad guys are Blizzard and the CalArts establishment, it's hard not to look like the good guys.
Really hard.
Yeah, it's just
you've got to do something really horrible in order to be poorly compared to the establishment at the moment.
Yeah, it feels like, you know that argument I always make whenever I go off and play a single-player video game and come back and have a mediocre review of it, like, well, at least it was a finished game, but I feel like my bar should be higher?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that feeling.
You have to think about the sort of reaction you're willing to give. If, a company you don't feel so great about, like Riot, comes out and produces something superlative. Because your feelings of dislike towards Riot are not because they have done something evil to you.
No,
It is you've got a negative opinion of them because their products have had these effects or whatever. So, if they do produce something that is excellent, it is sort of incumbent on you in a critical capacity to treat it like it is good, if it's good.
Yeah, it all that may be true, but none of that goes into the processing the feelings I have about this thing and making it something I can talk about on the spur of the moment. Because there's a lot to think through when it comes to Riot and how I want to approach their products, if they are good.
Yeah,
I have to disentangle what emotions are in there with select feelings from the actual products themselves, which takes some time doing.
I do believe that if a company's been doing bad but they do a good thing, you should reward that good thing.
Yeah, that's easy to say unless you were somebody that had a huge investment in the company.
Yeah, there's a point at which you can't do that, though. Either the company has just become so toxic, like Blizzard is becoming, or they've affected you directly.
Well, it's not even directly. It was not even a singular event. It was just Riot being Riot for as long as I was attached to them. So there's a whole lot of different and very numerous emotions tied up with Riot that I need to parse through to figure out what I think of them and how much of a shot I'm willing to give them.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a hurdle for you.
But yeah, you guys should totally check it out on the spot. Y'all can be way more objective out the gate than I can be on this.
Yeah, maybe we'll do it.
I'm inclined to look at it, but I just haven't carved out time for it yet. I mean,
it's
got Dinger in it, and I like Dinger.
I do like Dinger, actually. Dinger was the first LoL character I played. I was terrible at him, but I like Dinger.
He was also the first LoL character I played, I think.
Yeah, the fact that his hair looks like his brain and you can't really tell the difference.
The Dinger Winger.
The Dinger Winger.
He throws wrenches.
He throws wrenches and he throws turrets. He babbles scientific mumbo jumbo. Great, I like Dinger. That's the thing.
Roll higher.
As bad as League of Legends is, they do have some fun characters.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if League of Legends is bad or if it's just everything associated with League of Legends is bad.
Well, it's a MOBA,
like
so
the
it's
community, their monetization, everything. But the core gameplay is probably competent. I didn't dislike it. I just wasn't very good at it.
I don't really. Like, MOBAs in general, but League of Legends are kind of the antithesis to everything I look for in a game.
My main problem, the biggest problem I had with League of Legends was just that I can't get into the genre because I don't want to carve out 50 minutes at a time for a play session.
Mm.
It's
and I'd rather keep doing different things in a play session, not the same thing over and over again.
Well, I like accumulating. I like accumulating things over time, which is why I am such a sucker for MMOs. Because even though I don't play MMOs intensively very often, I like the sense of accumulation that you get over the course of time, both in terms of experiences and in terms of making the bars go up. It's just it trips all of the right OCD levers in my head.
The difference there is that at the end of the round,
it doesn't extend to your inventory.
Yes.
My inventory was cleaned this morning.
Was. How long did that last?
It lasted almost 15 minutes.
And then I dragged him through like a ton of treasure maps.
Now I have a rainbow of materia, and I've got like about 25 different types of various crafting materials, and I've got a bunch of random potions and lemons.
Craftsman teas.
Oh, these aren't hand lemons though, these are lemonettes. They're a higher tier of lemon.
They're fancy.
Oh, good. You can make some high quality lemonade.
Yeah, get me those white scripts.
Alright, so yeah, thanks for the email, Sarathus. We'll probably see you for Rantathon.
Yep. So, news this week is pretty light, which is why we've been stretching.
You want to pee on New World again?
Maybe you were stretching. I was just rambling in general.
Yeah, a little bit.
I was trying to give us all cover, Vol, because I think we were all just rambling. But you can just sail us down the river like that, I guess.
Beep, beep.
Well, I'm very keen on being forthright. It's why I don't work in politics.
Yeah, you wouldn't last 5 minutes, honestly, because, the truth.
I work in sales, and I do not tell an explicit falsehood, but that is about as far as I'm willing to go.
So,
I'm very sensitive about truth telling, like not just for moral reasons, but because if my work is inaccurate, people start to die. So
there's also
I need to always be reporting the truth always.
Didn't stop Dr. Fauci.
Well, he doesn't care about the truth. He's a politician.
I thought there was a quack doctor in way over his head.
Well, I mean, he's a politician because he doesn't do doctoring. He's been a part of the US administration for 7 different presidencies.
Yeah, at that point you're just...
He is the single most powerful person in the United States and the single highest paid government official in the United States. He is basically the president. Or rather, the king, because he's not elected.
There you go. Anywho, news. Yeah, you kind of want to pee on New World for a little bit? I don't think I actually have an article for this, but I'm going to pee on it anyway if you're ready.
There's another thing? Like, I haven't seen any articles about it.
There's been more information coming out about their big patch that they put out last week. The first batch is that not only did they put all this good stuff in and, ruin it, but there was also a whole bunch of stealth nerfs, and the biggest one being is an endgame grind. So Once you reach max level, you get a value on each armor slot. I forget what it's actually called. Just a number up to 600. The higher that number, the better quality loot you will be able to craft and or find for that slot. And what you need to do in order to raise that number is find legendary items. And you do that by just finding one mob that's associated with an item that will drop for that given slot and just killing it over and over and over. And you need to do this for every slot and every weapon.
What if somebody else is also doing that?
Then it's going to take twice as long. So,
that sounds like a terrible idea.
It's a terrible idea. And they just went ahead and, nerfed quietly the amount of, one of a better word, XP you get for each of these values. So now
what is this, EverQuest?
I know, right? So, yeah, now that grind's going to take even arbitrarily longer. But that's not the only thing they did. There is a end game set of crafting gear. I believe they call it the horticulturist set or something like that. They did a dumb.
Farming gear.
Yeah, it is farming gear.
No,
It is literally
unintended.
farming gear. They did a dumb though, and accidentally deleted this gear from the game.
What if you're wearing it? Are you just naked now?
You're just naked now. So, in order to fix this, they decided, okay, we will apologise. We'll give you your gear back, and as compensation, if you've had one piece of this gear, we'll just give you a full set at the highest tier you had a piece of. So this is full endgame gear, which you had to grind quite a lot for, and they're just giving it away for free.
What could possibly go wrong? It's not like that will devalue anything.
Oh, there's nothing to value. Is there?
Or create an aristocrat class.
So yeah, aside from that, they've taken into a habit, apparently, of when they announce something, they only tell the good news. They don't tell the bad news. Anything that people will react negatively to, they just don't say. They just dump it in the game.
Yeah, that's going to work out great for them.
That's how public relations works.
Are they actually trying to make this game successful or not?
I don't know. At this point, I have no idea.
Because this is looking more and more like intentional sabotage.
It's just... I'm amazed. Like, it's still the game is still getting outrage, and people are getting outraged because they do care. There is foundation for something good here. But that's not going to last forever. People have already been walking away. You're going to run out of people to walk away soon.
Yeah, I'm about to say, they already aren't salvaging anybody that's already left.
Yeah, anyone who's left is not going to come back at this point, unless they make some drastic changes.
Like,
What are they going to do when Endwalker comes out?
Die.
Like, there's not going to be anybody logged in. It's going to be complete ghost town.
Yeah, the game will die at that point, I think. Unless they do something, there's just going to be no one.
I mean, even like Endwalker coming out is one thing. World of Warcraft is also launching their PTR, I think, for their new patch.
Nobody cares about that.
Well, I mean, there might be some holdouts, but what I'm saying is that there are two extremely big draws, or one extremely big draw and one draw for desperate
Stockholm
partisans.
Syndrome.
Yeah. But nobody has had the opportunity to get truly attached to New World yet.
Yeah. There's the potential for it there, but everyone who might have, aside from, a few diehards who are really trying to hang on to it, everyone's gone. They're all left.
The thing is that they have also impeded becoming attached with their attentions and inattentions. Like, it seems like a situation where the people who would be otherwise very invested in the gameplay loop and the way that game culture works internally, they would not be able to do that because the gameplay has become so degenerate with bug exploits and that, to the point where no normal gameplay loop can exist or function. And if you add on top of that this in-game crafting gear is just going to exacerbate the situation, because now you've created the sort of aristocrat class who have had the playing field totally leveled. Everybody is now approximately the same, who are in that really committed class. Nobody can really get a leg up over anybody else or find any new niches to exploit because everybody is exactly as productive as everybody else.
Yeah.
The only variable in the equation is now time invested, and you've hit the end game and gotten all the gear. So what now?
Yeah.
What now?
Or even those who were working on upgrading their armor set, everyone who had one piece of it just got a power boost. Because generally when you have an armor set, even if they're all the same piece of armor, they'll all be at different grades. But this that just smoothed that curve.
I've seen like similar things happen in the past. Like it was on a much lesser scale, but Guild Wars 1 had the same overclass underclass issue.
Yep.
Where those people it used to be when the game came out that a lot of gold dropped, like World of Warcraft amounts of currency dropped, and that's to anybody who played Guild Wars 1 in the time subsequent, that sounds really strange because Guild Wars dropped like single digit amounts of currency a lot of the time. It was a very heavily barter focused economy. People would trade things like ectos instead of, which are like crafting mats, and functionally like crafting mats, not actually crafting mats, but functionally like crafting mats. They would trade those as proxy currency because currency was so rare. But the reason why this happened, the reason why their currency degraded to the point of being virtually irrelevant in a lot of situations, was because when the game came out, the currency drops were much, much, much higher than they came to be later. And when they realized the inflation was getting out of hand, they just turned the tap off and caused currency drops to be pegged to the amount of currency being spent in the game.
Ooh.
So a gold coin could not drop until it had been spent, essentially.
Oh, so you had people who just sat on their treasure hoards.
Yes. So what you ended up having, well, I mean, I don't know that there wasn't like a small inflationary amount in there. Like, I don't know if it was a one-for-one accounting, but like I say, they were pegged to each other. So yes, some spending had to happen in order for gold to be created in the in-game economy. And this sounds like a great idea, but it's only great if you do it from the start and you've got a reserve somewhere. Mm-hmm. But instead what happened is, every MMO has this class of people that are just super wealthy because making wealth is their favourite thing about the MMO. That's just, every MMO is like that, and MMOs are designed to accommodate that type of person. That's the point.
Yes.
But this class of people suddenly went from being incredibly wealthy to mind-shatteringly, inconceivably wealthy because everybody joining the game at that time couldn't make money the way they did. Currency just wasn't entering the economy fast enough. There was no way they could grind up their seed cash or anything like that.
Yep.
So this created, for a very long time, until the barter economy came to full maturity, there was a massive overclass-underclass problem, where people who were in the game at the particular time this major system changed were aristocrats and everybody else were peasants. And the peasants would have to do whatever they could to scrape up a tiny bit of money by doing favours for the aristocrats. And the aristocrats could do and demand anything they wanted because they had control over the economy. If you wanted entry into the economy, you couldn't go out and earn it because you would get a pittance, but the prices were set by people who had infinity dollars.
Yeah. So eventually you ended up with this barter economy that cut the out.
Yeah. It was all trading in things that dropped due to gameplay.
Yep, real world economy.
You get these things because you happen to be able to kill a creature that will drop at some frequency these items, and these items have particular value, so people will trade them for X amount of some other thing. So the things that there were black dye, white dye, ectos, shards, and those were the four main things at the time that I was playing, and they were the denominations, the cash denominations that people used. And eventually, due to the extensiveness with which this percolated the culture in there, it got tied back to the cash economy. And as the people who were sitting on enormous piles of gold quit, the value of currency sort of renormalized around these four additional denominations. So the economy did save itself in the end and restabilize. But the people at the time, when the big change in system took place, it created huge amounts of cultural problems for the game society as it was starting up. And this, what they have done with in-game gear of all things in New World is like a much, much worse version of that, where you have changed people's fundamental productive power and motivation to play the game in an irrevocable way.
Yeah. Especially on top of that, gold is worthless now. There's so
Yeah,
much
because you can
surplus
make
gold.
it.
Because you can make it. You can pop it out of thin air. But it's absolutely pointless to you to worry about gold. We'll see. Yeah, at this point, like, my hopes are not high for it making a recovery, and my hopes are lost.
How can you clown things up this many times in such a short span?
Yeah.
It's kind of, I say this every time, but it's kind of impressive in a way.
It is, isn't it? It's a special type of bad. So that's that circus. What's the next one?
So I got one I also didn't post in there. It's not a very big one.
All right.
Let me pull back up Niche Gamer. Dupaloop guys are announcing a new game starring Edmond Dantes from Fate Grand Order.
Okay, is it Dante's the Dupalooper?
No, we actually don't know very much about the project at all. Right. It's another mystery game, it looks like, and Kadaka's writing it and Rui's doing the art. But it's set in a new universe, and I swear this pro tag looks just like Edmond Dantes, except younger.
To anybody who is not like a fan of Rui's work, all of their characters look the same. He's basically the same as Toriyama.
Yeah,
like they've got a few basic features that are just glued onto them in different ways.
Crazy eyes usually.
He relies on extreme features to distinguish his characters from each other because there's no subtlety in his drawing whatsoever.
Yeah, I do like Rui's work quite a bit, but yeah, I just was like, his outfits especially just looks like a baby version of Dante's. I can't fight this thing. Why am I trying to fight this deer?
A lot of his stuff, it's like, imagine a normal person and now electrocute them.
Yeah, it's very much a particular taste in art that some people have and some people don't. It's not something that is universally recognized as good looking.
But yeah.
So, I mean, I've got my artistic preferences as well. I totally understand because, like, I really like Red Juice's art, and a lot of people really, really don't. Same with Shiramiwa's art. I like Shiramiwa's art a lot as well, and a lot of people really, really don't because they're very distinctive styles that have a particular look, and you know they're suited for certain types of work and not for others. And Rui's work is very well suited to the particular types of games that he contributes them to. Because, I mean, you know, if you've got a lot of talky stuff using cutouts, he can draw a cutout all right. I think that it's a bit out of place in FGO. But likewise, for instance, Red Juice's art, I like his art, but I don't think that Iris was necessarily the greatest design for the Hololive crew.
Oh man, she looks so uncanny to me.
Yeah, but she looks uncanny because the art style is badly suited to a rig, and no one else is drawn by Red Juice. That's the major problem.
Yeah. So yeah, we got Kodaka back in the seat after the polarizing end of V3. I'm interested to see where he's going.
Yeah.
And
the more I think about 3's end, the more I think that was freaking
dumb. The more
dumb.
I like it. No, I like it more the more I think about it.
Nah, it was dumb. And see, there you go. It's polarizing.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I can't get into Danganronpa because there is this looming thing created by the discussion that you two just had, for example, that makes me worry that I will invest a lot of time in it and it'll just be unsatisfying in the end.
Yeah. Even though I think the ending was dumb, I'm still satisfied by it, which is, I know, kind of wonky, I guess, but. Yeah. Sometimes you just want dumb. Sometimes getting dumb is exactly what you need.
I think the message of the ending is just easily lost to a Western audience.
Yes.
But once you think about it and you realize what type of person he was, what type of person he is, and what type of culture he's in, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, you kind of need that cultural perspective, I guess.
I mean, I have no trouble really understanding other cultures, but I have a very strong sense of my standpoint when I look at another culture as being either on the outside or in the inside. Like, I mean, as anybody who's listened to me talk about media before, I have a very rigorously, strongly grounded metaphysical standpoint on a lot of issues, and the significance of those issues to a worldview as a whole, and what things are important to think about and what things only appear to be important. But and while that will differ from other cultures, sometimes it can be a bit of an itch if something is not correctly perceived, in my view, as being important.
Which means because you would hate a mystery.
Well, it's not so much about it being a mystery. It's that when the solution is something that disregards something that I think is of critical importance.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's sort of like the difference between somebody who thinks morals are absolute and somebody who thinks morals are relative. Like, both of them think that their position is totally reasonable, but they will not mere. It won't be a matter of mere taste if they have a disagreement, because for a moral absolutist, a moral relativist is a severe violation of the natural order. Like, it's a fundamentally immoral position to have, by definition, for them. And that's sort of like a stark analogy of what I mean, and that some things get passed off as cultural perspective, when in fact, from a perspective other than inside that culture, it just seems sloppy and inattentive.
Yeah. All right. Have you actually played any of the Danganronpa games?
I started one of them, but honestly, I got sick of the navigation, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. The navigation is a right pain.
Constantly walking around that incredibly dull environment, waiting for the next story beat to happen, just got on my nerves.
Listening to really repetitive and dull music, yes.
The subsequent games make the environments much more interesting, but the method of locomotion does not change.
Yep.
They improve it a little bit in 3.
The thing is that what grated on me is that it reminded me of something in particular. The environments reminded me of something in particular that was like nails on a chalkboard to me. And I don't know whether or not either of you know what I'm talking about when I mention the second Goosebumps PC game, Attack of the Mutant.
I never played it. I played the first one with,
Jeff Goldblum. No,
yeah.
The second one is radically different in every conceivable way.
Yep.
But the environments and the sort of like stark colors, and sort of like it's almost blindingly oversaturated in some places and painfully desaturated in others. Like the sort of artistic noise and inconsistency is very, very similar. Like, Rui should have been allowed to design the environments to a greater extent so that they were drawn more into the same style, as opposed to what you currently have, which is a lot of frankly awful environmental design.
Yeah, the first game in particular has...
Especially the first game. The second one, yeah, as well.
No, the second one has a better method of overworld navigation, but once you get into the zones and have to walk around them in that first-person perspective, they're all radically different and have their own unique themes in each one.
Yeah, they wrote that into the story, at least, this time.
The only problem area in the second game is the funhouse.
Ugh. Yes.
The pink and green funhouse.
And that's the other reason that I can't motivate myself to really get into the Danganronpa games, is that the things that people seem to remember most and talk about most are the parts of the game that they hated. Like, the thing that you guys have talked about relative to Danganronpa more than any other aspect of Danganronpa in the specific is Hangman's Gambit.
Yeah.
Well, that's because Hangman's Gambit is partially a meme. Well, it's not partially a meme. It is a meme. It is the meme of the series. but it comes up so infrequently, and maybe once per trial, if that. That when it does come up and it's ridiculous,
it's not a matter of how often it comes up. It's a matter of the fact that is what people feel is worth talking about and worth making a central part of the culture of the fandom. Is Hangman's Gambit, this deeply, deeply awful thing that traumatized everyone.
The other thing is all the good parts are spoilers. Like, I could go on ad nauseum about how great Chapter 5 of Danganronpa 2 is, with the way that murder is set up, and how it's one of the best murder mystery stories I've seen in forever. But all of that is mega spoilers.
Yeah, that's the biggest.
I don't care about that. All I care is that there's no motivation provided for me to play the game. Like somebody saying, "Oh, it's really good, just trust me," is not really something that's going to justify the expenditure of my very, very sparse free time.
Yeah, we're going to come back again because it's a mystery, and the problem with mysteries is you spoil anything and it just ruins the whole thing.
Yeah, it's the best bait and switch is also the first chapter of the third game that I've seen in a long time. That was
I think
done
they
really
did that
well.
extremely well.
And whenever people talk about the third game, if they're not talking about Seesaw Effect or the controversial ending, it's how great the first chapter was.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a really good bait and switch in virtually any story I've ever seen.
It's they pull it off about as perfect as you could in chapter 1 of V3.
But I've never even seen a mediocre one before. The only bait and switches I've ever seen have been agonizingly bad.
This one is actually quite good. You can see it coming if you pay real attention, if you know what you're looking for. But yeah.
Yeah, it plays to your expectations with the mystery genre as a whole.
Yeah, namely certain things that can't happen.
If you make certain assumptions, you will get it wrong. But if you don't, it's incredibly obvious what's happening.
Yeah. All right.
So that's Rui.
We'll have
Rui
to see
and
what
Kadaka are doing a thing.
We'll have to see what sort of game it is when it comes out.
Yeah, it's a mystery. It looks like.
You didn't have much nice to say about the last Danganronpa alike. They spat out.
Oh yeah, the one that they pumped out in the. Yeah, no, that was bad.
Oh, the one about the kids stuck on that island.
The clones that die after a certain number of days.
Yeah,
and
that was it.
Life, and they have to have their memories transplanted into it. Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, I've never actually played. I put it aside because of your view of it, honestly.
Yeah, it was the B team got the job, and you can tell the B team got the job. It was really bad. So yeah, but Kadaka and Rui are at the helm of this. They got the A team. It's going to be a headliner for Spike Chunsoft. So looking forward to it. See how good it is.
We shall see. All right, and more news.
Right, Tencent.
Oh no, not these clowns again.
So
the big reason not to like Riot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also a major source of apprehension. Tencent completely owns Riot.
Yes.
Like that, they have bought the company outright. I think. I don't think there's any independent stock that isn't Tencent's now.
My suspicion though is that going forward we're going to see companies like Tencent maneuvering to try and divest themselves of their attachment to China.
Yeah.
Whether or not any of the board will survive is in question and not be, disposed of by the CCP. But their maneuvering lately has looked like they are not trying to infiltrate other countries, but trying to get out of their own country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tencent is one of those, for those that don't know, it's one of those mega buy 'em up corps that goes around and buys shares or outright buys companies and is based in China. And they provide funding and support to the people they purchase, and they exert influence in return. Kind of like a publisher, except they are China, so they're evil. And as far as I know, they don't greenlight any projects or provide any actual aid. They just own the people now. and people have to do what Tencent says because they gave them a chunk of money. So, Tencent has got an order from the CCP that says they may not update or launch any apps for X amount of time. That X is TBD.
Huh.
And this is the problem with China. Because every single company has no independence and exists at the whim of the CCP. And will do exactly what the CCP asks. And if you install...
consequences are hefty.
And if you install a Riot Games app on your PC, and the CCP says, we want data on all you Americans or those Westerners, and they say Tencent, go get it for us, and don't tell them about it, guess what Tencent's gonna do?
Well, they don't want their family shot, so...
Yeah. So, this is the other reason you need to be very wary whenever any company completely owned by China is making a big push and making a splash. This is like, my problem with Genshin Impact is I could have got into that game. I really liked it. China. Like, I could get by in my emotional feelings about Riot and probably come with something coherent and positive to say about their new stuff really easy. But China. And you just can't trust
in the background.
Yeah, it's you can't trust it. Like, if you can tell me you trust the CCP, I'm going to call you a liar.
Well, I mean, you might be lying, but the reason is probably because somebody's holding a gun to your head.
Yeah.
Just out of view, there's somebody pointing a gun at you if you're saying that you trust the CCP. Or you could have been raised in China because they are not allowed to think anything else, and a lot of them just can't.
Yeah,
because they've been raised not to think any other way.
Yeah, if you're under the age of like 35, you might genuinely think that, or maybe even older a bit. I forget how. Man, time's marching on too fast.
Yeah, it is.
All you have to really do is observe how their online communities behave, and it's like a hive mind.
Yeah, they attack in force together as a collective. It's what the lefties want for us here in the West, and why you should oppose vax mandates. Oh, did I just say that on the show?
No, you didn't hear anything, Susan.
Too late. The Jacinta's knocking on Vol's door. You've ruined it all now.
Oh, Jacinta wishes she was that important that Susan would tell her anything.
Yeah, so Tencent's... This has a bit of implication in that maybe China did notice what was going on with Riot specifically, because Riot's doing the big media push right now. And
I prefer not to try and make any inferences about inside baseball being played with the CCP and the companies which have to answer to them. There's too much going on that we don't know about. It would be absolute folly to suggest that we can actually see the picture from here or make any meaningful inferences.
Well, I was less focusing on specifics or meaningful inferences other than China is evil. So whatever it is, it can't be good.
Well, the thing is that I think that this particular type of media push looks just as much as it could be the CCP directing a takeover of this particular facet of culture in the West as Tencent trying to make such a strong monetary proposition offshore that they can't be regulated locally anymore because they've managed to distance themselves.
Yeah. So yeah. And Tencent doesn't just own Riot, by the way. They bought...
They own a little bit of everybody, including Blizzard.
Yeah, they are all over the place. They got their fingers in every pie in the world. So if anything is directed... if they have direct control over it, it doesn't matter what market the game's in. It can't be updated. So Riot Games currently cannot update League of Legends, as far as I'm aware of how this works. And if they have partial control, they can't... And they're the ones that distribute it in China. It can't be updated in China. Let alone any new products that were going to be published. So we don't know what the ramifications of this are or how deep it goes, and we don't know how long it's going to go on for. But this is just what happens when you work with the CCP.
There a suspicion as to what A at this point?
No, it's the CCP. They ain't gonna tell us crap.
Right.
Well, they can tell you stuff, but there's no reason to believe it's true when they do.
Yeah, if the CCP opens its mouth, disregard everything they said, and go on your base assumptions, you'll be more accurate.
Right.
They will only tell you the truth if it's to their advantage to do so, if it will benefit them in some way. Usually because you knowing the truth will be to your detriment.
Yeah, it's never ever listen to the CCP. So yeah, that is my obligatory bi-weekly China is evil rant done.
Yep, and also we're probably going to end up in a Black Van rant.
Oh, if I go down, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, you better. All right, next bit of news.
I'm just saying, taking out Vol's people would be a pretty good way to go.
I'm the one who's going to get black bagged for this, not you.
Oh man,
That's
okay.
getting bad. Oh.
And Fern,
why would you do this to Fern?
Because eventually Fern has to come to terms with, we ain't joking. We laugh, but we laugh because we're actually horrified.
I know.
I can't even get a haircut anymore, you know.
Give it a month, everyone will forget about it.
No, they won't.
That's where all our mandates are headed.
Well, the big advantage to the parliamentary governmental system, it's riddled with disadvantages, but one of the big advantages is that the infighting is much more intense than it is inside parties in the US.
Much more entertaining
so,
too.
The odds that Jacinda will be stabbed in the back by someone aren't too bad.
And they're increasing.
Yep, she's very, very unpopular, both with her party and with the people right now.
Yeah. Her and Dan Andrews.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's all the news I got. Vol posted a PSO2 thing in there, but I didn't look at it.
That was more or less for the lulz, because it's like, this is so pathetic. This is so tragic. This is what you think you're going to save yourself with? Goldfish outfits?
So bad.
I don't really have a good picture. I can't really find a good picture. Let's take a snapshot of this video using the clipper tool is about the best that I can do.
They put up
that'll do.
Picture themselves.
I don't want to navigate their site because it's a freaking nightmare.
Oh yeah,
it's too hard.
It is a bomb.
But it's just more terrible outfits instead of like
fixing their game
to make their game playable.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that?
Hey, they included a male outfit this time at least.
That's
the boys.
That's a change.
You know, for the one male player that plays that game.
You say a male outfit, it's like part of a male outfit, really, because there's not really much on top.
Does anybody play that game that has a boy character anymore? You don't count. You don't play.
Don't count. No, I don't think so. There's no costume options.
Yeah, I mean, these outfits, they're not good, but they're not awful. The problem is that they don't have the sort of style and ambition that the older ones did.
Yeah, and they started at such a low point with their outfits.
They didn't have it.
Ultimately, people in PSO2 Classic, they bought outfits because they wanted to be in game and show off those outfits to other people who wanted to be in game. The problem is that nobody wants to be in game.
There are no outfits to show off, even if there was a game.
There's no one there to see it.
Yeah, I think the PSO2 OG lobbies actually passed the new Genesis lobbies pretty significantly a while ago. Everybody's just given up.
If I were to guess, I think that Ari would have been easily suckered by a lot of these like outfits and emotes if they had been done to the sort of quality and context that they would have been done in the Classic.
Yeah, I could have spent some gold on them.
but the reality is that the game sucks, so nobody cares about zhuzhing up their character for a game that they don't like being in.
Also, today's theme is pantsless, and there's far too much pants going on in this.
They can't even do pantsless right?
They can do salute-wear. It's just not in this lineup.
Just reading through the article that I linked about it, like the third paragraph. As for content, there's not much here, though the maintenance did complete other things like transfer players to the blocks they requested and give out freebies as compensation for bugs. What more could you possibly want? Things to do?
Yeah. So even the media is against him. Oh, just how did you drop the ball so bad on this, Sega?
If you want to get some premium tier cringe, go watch some YouTube videos from some of the PSO2 paid shills. Because they still got them, and they still shill for them.
I said it before, Sega is afraid of money and success, I swear.
Well, they just can't follow through.
It wouldn't take all that much,
They followed through for years successfully.
Yeah. They just need to do what they did with PSO2 Classic to New Genesis. Put out good content.
They need to scrap New Genesis and put something else in the oven at this point. I don't think we can salvage what we got.
Well, there's nothing there to salvage. It's fine.
I think there's stuff that you could do with, but that's sort of like, it feels like an alpha. That was my impression.
Yeah.
Not even a beta. It feels like an alpha. Like, this is your proof of concept that you've got an engine that works and you can stick stuff in it.
We're testing the systems. Here's kind of a basic framework of what the content will be. Give us money.
And now we're just going to spawn a bunch of enemies in the world and make sure that everything works okay. Okay, now where's the actual content?
What do you mean?
That was my gut reaction to playing it. Was like, but particularly for something like, say, the skill trees, for instance. Like, when I brought that skill tree up for the first time, I'm like, is this like the placeholder? Is there going to be a real skill tree coming at some point?
Your skill tree is a stick.
Yeah, your skill tree is find the one talent that is suboptimal and don't get that one and get everything else.
Some classes didn't even have that. It was just, you get everything. Fine.
Yeah. It was like, what were you people thinking? Well, I know what they were thinking. They weren't.
Yeah, how can we make this look as good as possible but not actually do it?
I got an idea. Let's give head direction to the guy that put out the worst episode in PSO2. The one that everybody quit while it was main content.
Yay. Do you have any other news? Something happy, please?
No.
Happy?
There isn't.
Happy?
There is no happy.
I haven't experienced happy in weeks. Thanks to my work.
I need happy.
There is no happy.
There's no happy.
It's all black pills, Fern. Everything is terrible forever. There's no future.
In that case, I'll go and find a very strange anime to watch.
Like, there's like a new Neptunia game coming, but that's always true.
That's happy with a side order of cosmic horror.
I mean, if you want some funny, you can just go stand outside the auction house in Gridania and critique all the girls' outfits. Because some of them got really funny outfits.
Heckle everyone who's playing anime songs.
If you want cosmic horror, the next Total Warhammer, which they should have called it Total Warhammer, game is going to be focused on Nurgle.
Ah, yes. Nurgle, Slanesh, Tzeentch, they've all got their own factions.
Like, their Nurgle trailer is out, is the reason I mention it, and it's
disgusting.
Nurgle. Yeah, everything in it is gross.
Yeah, that's Nurgle.
I can artistically understand all the other Chaos Gods. I can even understand why Nurgle exists and fits in the universe, but it doesn't mean I ever want to see anything related to Nurgle or his forces.
That sounds about right. I think everyone's got that opinion.
They're just
like literally the Snot faction.
Like, do you want boogers? The race.
Yeah. Boogers, and if it's not boogers, it will become boogers.
It is almost certainly worse than boogers, but for the sake of our sanity, we're going to continue to refer to it all as boogers.
Yes.
And boogers is fun to say.
Boogers is also an incredibly funny word. So, I mean, yeah, if you recall back when the first Total Warhammer came out, people were immediately calling it Total Warhammer. And the developers got really snotty about that.
Missed opportunity. I wonder if it was because of like, why didn't I think of that? That was so obvious.
It's Total Warhammer. Yeah.
But honestly, Games Workshop wouldn't have allowed it.
Yeah, it was. I think it primarily was. Backing up the biggest stick.
Be impinging on their brand in some way.
What's this? Creativity? Free thought? Not on our watch.
They've gotten increasingly psychopathic about their enforcement of their IP lately.
No, we're not allowed to play Warhammer, by the way, guys. I don't know if you knew this. Because by Game Workshop standards, we're all Nazis.
Well, yeah, they think everybody's a Nazi, though.
Yeah. Nobody actually plays Games Workshop games to support Games Workshop.
Well, nobody supports Games Workshop who plays Games Workshop games anymore. Like, the reason why they're ailing so badly is because of the fact that most people buy bootlegs now.
Yeah, like if you want to play Warhammer, you could spend a couple of $1,000s on minis, or you could spend $500 on a 3D printer and some filament.
The price of the minis has like roughly doubled since I was playing in high school.
Oh, easily.
Oh, can you imagine after Brandon inflation what they're like now?
It's just there's no reason. I heard something else also about new bosses in Monster Hunter Rise, but I haven't looked at it yet. Did you hear anything about it?
No, I haven't actually. I need to have a look-see. Let me see.
I see news posts for Monster Hunter Rise scroll by occasionally, but they just don't. I assume Fern will tell me if it's important.
Yeah,
the content for Rise has been really spotty. Like some weeks they'll release a cool quest, and some weeks they'll release like a rampage again or something, and nobody cares.
So nobody really cares about that. But they have announced a few monsters that are going to be in the expansion. Let me see. They've announced Malzeno, who is Vampire Dragon.
Oh,
You've got Shogun Cyanator, who is a giant enemy crab.
Sonic crossover with armor set.
Yeah, so I mentioned that last week, and it looks horrible.
I just saw it for the first time, and I'm like, oh my goodness, really?
Yeah.
Is that for real?
And it's got a quest associated with it somehow.
Yeah, there's like ring collecting.
Yeah, it's ring collecting. I mean, we already kind of did that with the bugs, but still. But yeah, it just looks pretty horrible. Like, I don't mind the Tails doggo costume, but the rest of it, no.
Yeah, it's too uncanny. It's far too uncanny.
Far too uncanny.
Like, I understand. I understand you want to do crossovers. I've really liked some of the crossovers you've done in the past, but there are limits. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like, even pixelated Mega Man did not look so out of place.
Yeah, apparently they've installed like a tier above Apexes or something. But honestly, it wasn't a very good Monster Hunter entry. There are things about it, like particularities about it that I really like, but by and large, it wasn't the cohesive package that World was.
Yeah, World, they just hit every nail.
Yeah, they really nailed that one.
Yeah, there's some things that in hindsight would have been better. Basically, everything involving the grapple mechanic, like that it exists.
Yeah, I think wire bugs are a bit much, but I like some of the things that they do for the game. But they'll be gone in the next major.
Yeah,
the major thing anyway, because it's like one of those one of those episodically limited features, like the clutch claw.
Yeah, sometimes they keep things and move them forward, and this time I think that'll be the doggo.
Maybe. I don't know. Like I have very mixed feelings about the doggo because I kind of don't really like that vehicular aspect to it very much.
Mm-hmm. They might get rid of that bit of it.
That feels very mandatory in some ways.
If he was instantly responsive when you called him to be a mount.
He's not.
And you could only mount him between boss fight phases after the boss runs away. That would be one thing.
But the thing is, I feel that meant that I just stopped navigating the environment in a way.
Yeah.
Ditch that side of things, but keep the companion side. Like, the doggo filled a kind of niche that the Palico was never able to.
This is something I don't know if I can trust any firm opinion on, because this is a doggo we're talking about.
No, I feel like the doggo has a different character to the Palico, and so there's a thematic space for it to fill there. But if I compare the way the level design in World with the level design in Rise, now I know that that's not fair because of the hardware difference. However, structurally, the World environments were very, very densely packed and interlinked between different layers and different elevations, different parts of the terrain interacted and built on each other in different ways, whereas I felt like everything in Rise were paddocks with roads between them, more or less, which encouraged just hopping on the Palamute and running extensively.
Yeah, the whole thing was built with the Palamute.
Monster runs away. One monster runs away, and he runs a long way, so you hop on your doggo and you just sprint after it at great length. There's no real interaction with your environment because everywhere just leads to everywhere else via a road.
Yeah, you could flip about the place on the wire bug.
Yeah, and the real hardcore speedrunners, they exclusively do that.
Yeah,
because they know the maps so well that it's just faster that way.
Yeah.
But for normal people, these maps, like, maybe that was always the intention. Maybe they decided to make the maps sort of open and expansive such that it was inefficient to not use the wire bug to traverse them. But that's not really that intuitively obvious to me. And it ends up being a matter of, well, you don't want to ever opt out of the Palamute because you need to be able to move fast or you'll be there all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these bosses have a timer.
Yeah, so if you can do it with the wire bug, well, more power to you, but everyone else is going to be using the doggo.
I never felt that way in World. I never felt like, oh, well, I just have to cross this vast distance. It was always, oh, well, the monster has fled and I think I know where it's gone, and if I take this route, then this will allow me to get there, and if I take that route, then I'll be at a higher elevation and able to jump down on the monster, and so on and so forth. There's no real going the other way in Rise. You just follow the monster and then re-engage it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's also multiple paths to the same destination in World that just aren't there in Rise. There are plenty of places, especially as elevation increases, where there are one or two paths to get there.
Not quite true. Like, there's infinite paths. It's just everything is a path. So when everything is a path, nothing is.
Like, the only stage that comes close to it in Rise, in my opinion, is the volcanic one. But even in that sense, that's sort of it's sort of a spokes on a wheel situation where the center of the map is very detailed and the periphery is very not.
Yeah.
And you end up chasing monsters around the periphery quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a two-tiered spoked wheel with battle arenas on the top and bottom.
Ultimately, I think it just comes down to the environments in World felt like actually a world. There was a living, breathing ecosystem. Whereas Rise, they just feel like a game.
They feel like a game arena, and like too much of it feels it's built around, oh, well, you've got this extra mobility from your Palamute, and you need to space things out a certain amount because you've got monster riding in there, and you want it to not immediately be intuitive that the best option is to find a monster on the far side of the map, mount it, and then run it all the way over to the other monster or whatever like that. Like, everything is built on a scale to accommodate monster riding and Palamute riding, and it makes it feel more gamey than it would otherwise. Like, to me, the difference between World and Rise is sort of like the difference between Halo 3 and Halo Reach. They look very similar, and they're similar in graphical style, but Halo 3's environments were built around telling the story of Halo 3, and Halo Reach's story environments were just multiplayer arenas bolted to each other with roads.
Yeah. They're not bad games. Each is good in their own way, but they're not the same.
I don't know. Have you played Reach lately? It hasn't aged very well, and it didn't come out too long ago.
Yeah, that's kind of first-person shooters, really. Most of them are
Really?
like
It
that.
didn't come out too long ago? Halo Reach didn't come out too long ago?
I'm choosing. No, don't.
Do not
Don't-
numbers. Let
Don't
him
do
live in
this
his.
to me.
Let him live in his happy bubble.
September 14, 2010.
There you
No,
go.
not too long
Over
ago.
a decade ago.
Not
Over a
too-
decade ago.
It was just like 3 years ago. It's not that long.
This is just 11 years ago. It's a little bit over 11 years ago. You were basically a baby.
It wasn't. Oh man, I was still in college.
You were extremely drunk at the time. That's fine.
I think that was before I could drink.
But that
I
stopped
think
you.
I think I was 20.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm looking at over a decade ago and saying I was 20. Kill
Hooray!
me.
Here comes the existential dread.
Oh, why bother to kill you? You'll be dead next year anyway.
Oh, no.
Okay, when the apocalypse happens, I just want both of you to know there will be a glass frame somewhere in wherever we're holed up suffering through the apocalypse. And it will have a big note on it that says, if Ari is over the age of 65, break glass, and there will be a 45 caliber revolver in there with one bullet, and you know what to do.
No, don't worry. You're such an old codger already that by the time the apocalypse is here, you'll be in the past.
Oh,
Gee. What are we doing again?
I don't know. It's my
Being
week to feel
old.
old.
Being old.
Yeah, it's my week to feel old.
So yeah, we don't actually have, I believe, any official notification on their main website about new monsters. Just Shogun Cyanotor. So yeah, giant enemy crab. Have fun.
Is that a new skeleton? A totally new skeleton?
Oh, Shogun Cyanotor's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And
Maybe I'll think
Malzanos
of
looks
something
like
else.
it's using the generic Western dragon skeleton.
Well, no. When I say a new skeleton, I mean new to this new version of the game that was inaugurated with World.
Yes, actually, in that case. Yeah,
Yeah, so
like there's a whole bunch.
Are there a lot of other Carapacians that use that same?
They're all Cyanosaurs of
skeleton?
some description, but there's the Shoguns, the Daimyos, Permators, and Cyanotors. There is also a Elder Dragon Crab, but it uses a unique skeleton.
Elder Dragon Crab.
It's a king crab thing, and the thing's
Elder
like
Delicious.
the thing's like
Dragon
40 feet
crab.
tall.
Oh man, now I want some spider rolls.
Giant enemy crab. Eh?
Giant enemy crab. You don't stop it, you just kind of get everything out of its way.
Man, I want some crab legs and some sushi. Oh, oh, I'm hungry now.
And with that, maybe we should start wrapping up.
I think I have some sushi in the fridge. I think it's still good.
That's a dubious claim.
Sushi is good for like 24 hours tops.
Oh,
After that, you're in danger after that.
Danger.
it's been in the fridge for 48 hours.
Now you're probably boned.
It was left over from alternatives for the greenies at that show up that might have shown up at Thanksgiving that thankfully didn't. I'm using greenies to describe them, the crazy libtard family members. But they did not show up, so we didn't need them. So they asked who likes sushi. I'm like, I'll take it. I don't know when I'll eat it, but I gotta eat it quick.
Yeah, you might be too late. So you've got a choice, I suppose. You could have not sushi, or you could have sushi and spend the next 12 hours clamped to the toilet.
All right. And with that wonderful picture,
It is Nurgle themed.
It is Nurgle themed.
oh, you want to make it worse? I think one of the boxes is a California roll set. That thing's an abomination.
Yes. Who puts avocado
Why?
in anything?
Well, Californians, I guess.
Yes.
All right, folks. Closing comments, and let's get out of here.
So yeah, reminder, no show next week because we're going to be preparing for Rantathon and probably running around screaming at a big ball of birds. But, you know, week after that, we will post the start time in the announcement section of the Discord.
Yep. Also, Mostly Peaceful Podcast Episode 8 is currently under construction. Loosely. There's a lot that happened and a whole lot of stuff that needs links and citations. But we do actually have a page, and it is under construction now. So we will get it to you soon, TM.
Soon, TM. Some of that stuff is going to be be served pretty fresh, though, so you don't want to hang on too long.
Well, this is partly a year in review, so unless the President of the United States manages to start another war to replace the one he lost, we probably won't have any big upheavals.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, we got quite a bit to go through, and we'll try to get it out before the end of the year. I'm not making any promises though, because it takes a while to put these episodes together.
A lot of research to do.
Less research. We know what happened. It's more making sure we have it cited so we don't look like total clowns.
Yes.
So most of our claims have to be cited that aren't obvious. And that takes time. But we're working on it, and it is actually being worked on now, so we'll get it done eventually.
Right. Let's just get out of here then, shall we?
All right. We'll see y'all next week. Oh, not next week, at Rantathon. So be sure to tune in. Sayonara. Bye-bye.